Shut up and sit down.
Well, the ChampCar Endurance Series takes racing drivers to some of the most iconic circuits around North America and the United States. The ChampCar iRacing Series tonight, round 4 for 2022, takes us to just one of those. It's Daytona International Speedway, a world icon that means speed to everyone all around the world. And we've brought this season's fastest car, the Ford Mustang FR500S, to give us some V8 grunt around the banking. Thanks for joining us here for HJBC coverage. That's right, round 4 of the ChampCar iRacing Series in 2022. There is a little bit of prize money up for grabs on the line. It's $1,500 of ChampCar credit to our season champion at the end of 16 rounds this season. In the spirit of everyone deserves to be able to go racing, there's also an equally valuable prize, $1,500 that is going to be randomly drawn from one of our season-long competitors who competes and completes enough races. So those are some super exciting things that are on the table. And hopefully we're going to see some great racing tonight with a good field. I'm David Haynes, Devin Peters with me, Michael Derby in the production truck. Devin, very exciting and very closely fought rounds so far this season. We come to Daytona, a place known for photo finishes.
Yeah, and we just might get one today with how this qualifying session's shaping up. Mark McCormick, season-long points leader so far, is actually not leading the race. Alex Albert, 3-time series champion, is up there instead. So it'll be interesting to see if Alex can reverse some of his early fortunes this season. He's had a rough go of it to get going, and do better this time around.
And you know, we like to keep what's worked in the ChampCar iRacing Series, but tweak things up a little bit. So we've got a couple of new tracks this season. We've also got a couple new formats this season. This will be a 2-hour race tonight. It will be a 2-stop race. So it's going to be some strategy and maybe some sore arms and shoulders by the end of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to think that drivers are going to be positively worn out by the end of this. And Daytona is really one of those tracks, you know, whether you do it for 40 minutes or you do it for 2 hours, that requires absolute precision to get the most out of it. It's not the hardest track you'll ever drive, but running a fast lap one time, easy. 50 times, 60 times, very challenging.
So talking more about tonight's format. Qualifying underway right now, and as you can see, just a short few minutes left in that. It's all out on track, and this is definitely one of those circuits where I think there's a lot of drivers leaving pit lane right now looking to pick up a slipstream if they can. It's risk it for the biscuit kind of situation then, isn't it? Because you want to pick up a tow, you want to pick up a slipstream, get some extra speed around the banking, but also if the person in front of you makes a mistake, that's probably going to throw your lap away too, and there's a lot of drivers closely bunched together with just minutes left in this session.
Well, and we're watching along as Alex Albert chases Mark McCormick, and finding the right guy to follow is really critical in a moment like this, because the guy ahead of you makes a mistake going into the bus stop, you're not dodging that. But luckily, if I was picking where I'd like to be, it's right behind the second fastest guy on the track, and that's where Alex Albert has found himself.
Yeah, so of course on the road course at the Daytona International Speedway means you do a lot of running on the banking, a lot of running at full throttle, but you've also got to thread your way through this tricky and quite well policed track limits of the bus stop. Quick changes of direction, trying to carry speed and momentum, and the tail has flipped out a little bit there for Alex Albert. Devin, have you got a weather update?
Absolutely. It is currently balmy 68 degrees on track Fahrenheit for our American audience. What do you got it in Celsius? There it is, 25 degrees, and about a little wind, but nothing that's going to affect these fat old Mustangs as they run down into turn number 1. The key thing to notice, though, here is that the time of day is going to be rapidly changing. We've got an 8 times multiplier. That's right, we're spinning the planet 8 times faster than usual. And we're going to see daytime, we're going to see nighttime, and just about everything in between as we race here today.
Is that why I'm feeling dizzy? Understandable. Just 2 minutes left in this session. Alex Albert, top of the timesheets. Mark McCormick, oh so close. Thousandths of a second in that one, isn't it? So Alex Albert has pole with a 2-minute 2.278. Mark McCormick has the outside of the front row with a 2-minute 2.279, a thousandth of a second between them, as they are finding quite a lot of grip and speed with that speed time of day modifier you're talking about. It is perfect conditions right now on these final laps of qualifying.
Well, and considering it's a fixed series event here today, you can tell that these guys are getting every single thing out of these cars. That's awesome. And the setup we've got on these things is really good too. I was out racing earlier in the test event a little bit and doing some practice laps on my own, and it squirms and it moves. It feels every bit of the real thing. And so these guys are really showing off some serious skills to hustle that thing around in 2 minutes, 2 seconds. A little wide from Alex. Mark McCormick makes it look a little bit better though.
Yeah, it's such a commitment section of the track through the bus stop there. You approach at incredible speeds. Mark McCormick moving up the banking a little bit, I think, to then drop back down in the slipstream if he can. Probably going to get one more lap after this if they're fueled for it. The question's about how long do the tyres stay good? Also starting this lap a little high up the banking as well.
And that's the old oval racer secret, right? You take that long line through turns 3 and 4, NASCAR 3 and 4, and then slam it down into the turn 1 apex and try and carry a little bit of extra speed. Save yourself a few thousandths, and that's the only thing that matters right now.
Well, it's going to have to be a miraculous last couple sectors of the lap for Alex Albert, because he's missed the apex in turn number 1. He's missed the apex in that first horseshoe. And these cars are a little unruly and a little unwieldy through those horseshoe bends here. Requires a lot of steering lock. The weight really rolls side to side. And there's plenty of it. That is another big lockup as well. And a really good throttle on drift as well. So that might be qualifying done for Alex Albert. For Mark McCormick, the defending champ, he's not giving up on this one just yet. I'm not sure he gained a lot of time through the opening sectors of the lap. And also we got Nick Love, Garrett Meyer, John Wilding, Lee Muirleman for our front 3 rows at the moment of what will be a rolling start.
And a couple new names there. Garrett Meyer and John Wilding both making their debuts in the ChampCar iRacing series, but both showing that they have got plenty of pace, qualifying less than a second off our leaders, and we know that those two are very, very skilled drivers. Unfortunately, it sounds like Zihao Lu's run into a technical, and he's going to have to use one of his drop weeks, some sort of issue with his steering wheel, as we see Mark McCormick abandon his lap. Must have gotten a slowdown in the bus stop there. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how these two relative newcomers handle themselves in this very competitive field.
Devin, you know me, I am the most mechanically, technically savvy person that's ever existed. There was a wire that wasn't connected in that photo from Zihao Lu, and I think that was his problem.
As far as I could tell, the thing was broke.
Yeah, it can be wireless device to device, but it can't be wireless within that device. The electricity needs to flow. So that's a real shame for him, but thankfully 16 rounds and it's your best 12 results that count. He absolutely has time left in this championship to bounce back and compete for that big prize and compete for the championship in the ChampCar iRacing series. Checkered flag is out on qualifying Daytona. Barney, what a view he's got. What a view the spectators have got from some of the fairground amusement rides around the circuit. I think quite a few drivers have already taken that checkered flag. And I'd want to take a minute if I was any of these drivers between qualifying right now and gridding up shortly to really get comfortable, make sure I've got a bottle of water handy somewhere, because they are going to have to strap in for a 120-minute race.
That's right. Get up, shake yourself out, get limber, stretch those forearms, maybe do a deep lunge or two, and then get back into your seats. Luckily, you're only going to need the edge of it for this race.
Well done, Devin. Well, you were talking about that fixed setup, an equal setup across all the Ford Mustangs here. Not that there's a whole lot to change with them. But that means everyone's starting on the same amount of fuel. What are we expecting for strategy? Because I definitely think it's shaping up towards a two-stop, 2-hour race.
Yeah, that looks to be the thing. We've got some napkin math from a few of the competitors that points that way, but it does leave open the possibility that some very, very strategic drafting might be enough to get a guy there with just one stop. Likely, though, that we're going to see 2 stops with probably about a 5 laps required. If someone doesn't manage to get, or sorry, if you manage to get the tank full at the first stop with that 10-gallon initial fuel setting.
Let's look at our starting grid then, and it is Alex Albert and Mark McCormick, 2 drivers who battled each other very fiercely for the championship at the tail end of last season, who are going to be starting this race together on the front row. Alex Albert down low, Mark McCormick up high. Then the second row, Nick Love and Garrett Meyer. Got John Wilding and Lee Muehlman for row number 3. Then it's Jordan Butler and Andrew Kosick, Chris Knisley and Justin Hall on row number 5. It is a pretty good turnout and a pretty strong looking grid tonight. So the grid keeps going. It's Ian Giebler and Christopher Flamion. Then for the next row, you've got Charles Kowalczyk and Tim Wire, Sean Saputra and Mark Kruger, Kyle Robertson, David Warden. The row behind that, you've got Jared Kubert and Patrick Pursley, Jonathan Patterson and Ty Stover, Raymond Muratora, Brandon Marshall to 24th. And they keep going with Andre Jamison, Aaron Thorpe, Ryan Gerstner and Michael Thorne making an all-Canadian row back there. Scott Grinnell and Bill Fury, Corey Barrett, Jerry Barvanek, Ben Sandberg, and I don't think we saw Jay Sofianek set a qualifying time or see him out there. Grid are rolling for their truncated formation lap. What a sight they all are. Big field of American V8 Ford Mustangs on the banking at Daytona International Speedway. It's a sight, it's a sound, and it's going to be fast.
Oh, I'm getting excited already.
And to call this bald eagle flag waving action as 2 non-Americans, but Devin, you and I have both very much enjoyed racing in the United States. This is a track on my bucket list yet to be ticked, and I'm sure it's on yours.
Absolutely. You thought 20 hours to VIR was a long drive? Well, wait till you see me show up in Florida for a race down here. I'm looking
Mate, you should just
chance.
grow some wings and fly, Devin.
We'll see.
I don't have the possibility of driving, but I tell you what, it'll be even further. They are quite a sight, 2 by 2. When is Alex Albert going to put the power down, open up the V8 magic? I think it's got to be shortly. But he's got to think strategically with a 2-hour race. A lot of fuel strategy and saving and consumption and pit stop games to be played. He's put the power down. They're 2 wide across the Daytona stripe. Cold tires, cold brakes, heading down in towards turn 1. First lap of a long race. And your pole sitter, your leader, doesn't have to worry so much. But everyone behind's got to be careful. Opening up that power in the shorter gears. A lot of torque down low for these cars will make those rear tires squeal through turn 1 and the horseshoes for the first time. Clean so far from everything I've seen.
No tire warmers in a series like this, and I heard from more than a few drivers in the pits that this was a race where...
Looks like Justin Hall around in the first horseshoe, very easy to do.
Where cold tires would be a factor, and sure enough, we see one go spinning around on the exit of the first horseshoe there, very easy to do.
What is Justin Hall's excuse? He's racing with a full throttle pedal. It's the brake pedal that's maybe giving him some grief. No grief up front for the pole sitter, Alex Albert, but Nick Love has gotten his way around Mark McCormick. A lot of confidence for Nick Love. Early goings through the tight, twisty bits of the opening section on those cold tires.
Well, and there's some timing sheets that might be lying out there. I mean, I know that Alex Albert and Mark McCormick put in that 2.2, but there's no real difference between them and the rest of the top 5 other than a draft. This is going to be a very multi-car battle at the front, I got to think.
So you see them come through NASCAR 1 and 2, and then down the back straight, the slipstream really closing them up, not letting Alex Albert get away. The tail's getting away from him. A lot of very squirrely looking drivers through that bus stop. You go off the track, you go through the grass, you're going to have to serve a black flag, and it looks like Albert, Love, and Garrett Meyer might have picked up one. There's a whole heap of drivers just not expecting that lack of traction through the bus stop first time around. It sees Mark McCormick through to the lead. It sees John Wilding with a huge head of speed too to go through in a second place.
Well, and Alex Albert's down on the apron trying to give back that time, and I'm not sure that he's going to be able to. He's given up huge swaths to the front of the field. 5th, 6th, maybe even 7th going into turn number 1.
So Albert and Love look like they've given up that time down low on the banking as they cross the line and now immediately back into the action. And this is where the drivers are battling oh so close. Albert managed to cut back in front of Chris Knisley in the braking zone. Love finds himself held up behind there. The too wide action looked like Christopher Flamion getting down the inside of Ian Giebler potentially, if I read the car numbers right.
Yeah, looks about right to me.
So
some coming back in the pack, and I've just seen we've got Ian Giebler has just put Charles Kowalczyk on a collision course for the second horseshoe. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that Kowalczyk managed to drag that back in. But now that's put Sean Saputra off the track, and he's had to reel it back in on the other side of that. That was a scary moment for a lot of drivers just there. Good driving to save it.
Could have expected a really, really big accident as the driver slid across the grass towards the second horseshoe, but it didn't happen. And this is where the action zone is. Look at them, 3 wide on the banking behind Saputra. That looks like it'd be personally getting a bit boxed out by Jared Cubitt and Brandon Marshall, I think there.
Yeah, and meanwhile, just behind them, Justin Hall's making his charge back up through the field as he makes a move on Ryan Gersmer and sets his sights on Jonathan Patterson ahead. I have to imagine there'll be another move coming into the bus stop there. Sure
it's
enough,
definitely not a place that the meek go side by side through the bus stop here.
And Jonathan Patterson's given that one back. I think he must have recognized that blue and yellow car behind him was maybe a little bit out of position after that early incident. Back up at the front of the field, they're going 2 wide into turn 1. We got Chris Knisley and Lee Muehlman looking side by side, nicely up the inside in that Campton Crunch liveried vehicle. And he brakes hard, but brakes a little bit early as Nick Love is able to secure the move around the outside. And in case you were wondering, Jordan Butler in 3rd place with the fastest lap of the race. So fast ones coming from all over the top 5 right now.
Right, the 9th, Kosick battling Chris Flamion, and Flamion tried to look around the outside. That might have held himself just a little wide and let Garrett Meyer look down the inside. So they've got a great little battle here as well. It is literally just your leader, Mark McCormick, in the top 30, not engaged in some kind of battle at the moment. Pack racing at Daytona is what it kind of looks a little bit like at the moment. Almost some contact there through that second horseshoe. Again, Christopher Flamion not finding a line that's going to let him get around Andrew Kosick just yet.
Might have noticed the shadows starting to appear at 6 p.m. in simulator time. So we're expecting that clock to move forward very, very quickly. Watch for those headlights to come on in the next 15 minutes.
I think it might even be quicker than that. The speed that the Earth is spinning, some shade on the banking will be some relief to these tyres now. There might be a lot of sunlight and some hot tracks coming later on That opening lap has been very, very good to Mark McCormick, with a lot of the drivers who could have been in his slipstream and in his tow picking up that slowdown penalty through the bus stop. He's got time in hand. They are shaping up over second and third and fourth. Alex Albert looking for some of those spots back. He has gotten past Butler this lap.
I got to see if our race director can find it. Charles Kowalczyk got the bus stop a little bit wrong that time, and he more or less drifted through, I'd say about 3/4 of the corner. It was pretty sweet considering Tim Wire and Mark Kruger were right there beside him. It is packed back here in this little battle we got going on for, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th maybe? You're seeing it on the screen here. This was awesome as he got a little bit wide, drifted it.
3 wide in behind Mark Kruger, briefly through turn number 1, and then it's a dive. That's got to be Wire. Yeah, looking at Kowalczyk, and again, if you've got a lot of steering lock on these cars and you try to open up that throttle in these horseshoes, the differential and the grip, it just doesn't seem to be there. You've got to be so careful how you open up the power out of those slow corners if you're trying to take a tight line.
Yeah, live rear axles on these cars, a little bit of old school technology, and they really punish you. It's really easy to get that inside tire moving. Riding along with Alex Albert.
See a move.
Yeah, and it looks like he's lining up John Wilding. Not for any sort of move, though. It looks like he's just going to settle in and bump draft. I wonder if we're going to see maybe some fuel strategy now that Mark McCormick's gone and ran away with it a little bit here at the front. 2-second gap to him. And you got to love the Volt livery that John Wilding's running there. A little bit of Rebel Racing inspired. You know?
Yeah, a Multimatic Ford Mustang GT4 this is not, but I think the colors still suit. So there is a possibility this group working together can be quicker than Mark McCormick, because Albert does have the fastest lap of the race using this slipstream and bump drafting along. Bump drafted on the back straight. Is he going to look for the lead? This time he is. And is this lap also going to be quicker than your race leader?
I do believe.
No,
it didn't quite get it that time, but I do believe that you're right, and that the quick way to do it is keep the two guys together on the back straight before the bus stop, and then swap spots going down into turn number 1. Now we'll see if Wilding's on the same program here or not, as he tucks into line going into the first horseshoe. So it seems like he might be, but if this group of 4 can keep themselves together without making too much contact, there's a reasonable chance that they could run Mark down.
I think that's what that all meant from Alex Albert there as well on the back straight. I'm going to push you along here because I'm going to offer in good faith that we can work together, and then maybe you'll return the favor and we'll catch the leader. So Albert's just put a small deposit to start that savings account and that goodwill with this pack here. We'll see if it remains, but of course there's still an hour and 50 minutes of racing. And it is going to be like this up until that first round of pit stops, where you expect almost everyone's going to pit together. So you'd expect almost everyone to leave the pits together. And this could go on for a long time, of course, before they all then have to make that second pit stop and then maybe reconverge on some of their strategies in the final minutes of the race and the final stint.
A little bit of an interesting move there from Jordan Butler. He just kind of gave the draft to Nick Love and then popped up out of the way as Nick Love kind of got underneath him, and then fell right back into line. So I don't know if maybe they're doing the slingshot that way rather than doing the push, but either way, some interesting strategies being worked among the top 5 here for sure. Such
a Jekyll and Hyde twin character to this road course, isn't it? Because it's so tight and slow and technical through that infield, but then it looks like super speedway racing when they get onto the banking and the slipstream kicks in. Wilding looking around the outside of Albert, the 2 behind will in a bump draft, so Love and Butler working pretty well together. It's keeping this group of 4 packed in, but they are not catching Mark McCormick over the last 2 laps. That's going to be interesting how that one plays out. You can see some real orange hues heading towards that sunset, Devon, and maybe we should cast some light on some of the other packs further down the field now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been following along this battle for, 6th through 10th place with Chris Nicely out in front. He and Chris Flamian have actually been in a pretty fair battle there, as well as Garrett Meyer and Andrew Kosick a little deeper. Meyer makes a move up the inside of Kosick here and dives it in on the brakes. Ooh, he barely got that thing mowed down for the corner. But yeah, sure enough, this group has been swapping. They haven't gone across the line in the same order once since the start of this race.
Yeah, 2 big moves into the West Horseshoe. It's Flamian.
The second horseshoe.
Yeah, I mean, one of them's the International Horseshoe, one of them's West Horseshoe, and I forget what order that they're in.
That's the West one, yeah.
Yeah, 2 big. Great, good. 2 big moves there. As Chris versus Chris, Flamian went down the inside of Knisley, and then also that move you saw just a tiny bit further back. Is that a retro round livery for Flamian?
It does look a little bit retro. Someone from the branding department is going to have a chat with him about that one.
No, I like it. Reminds me of... I seriously think the earliest HJ livery that we ever ran was on this car, such as the vintage of the Ford Mustang FR500S.
It is a great car with some great sponsors too. But they've strung themselves up a little bit now that we've gone and talked about them. And so I'm looking a little deeper in the field, and I'm actually enjoying what I'm seeing from Tim Wire as he runs alongside Charles Kowalczyk. Kowalczyk started the lap in 15th place, and now he's battling, trying to get a side draft out of Tim Wire for 13th place. And who's lurking in the back? Sean Saprucha. Let's see if they make it 3 wide down into turn number 1. And cooler heads prevail. It looks like Saprucha's going to back it off. 2 wide, though. And, it's getting a little bit loose. I don't think either of them got it right. And Saprucha got it right, or them both. But they'll line themselves back out, up on the way out of that corner.
Yeah, wide heads here from Sean Saprucha, and he had a big lift on the way into that corner and thought, I'm going to watch how this plays out from the 2 in front of me. And that gave him the time to not get involved in anything, as they both got quite loose there. I feel like those love racing guys always have a bit of nous for the strategy and the long game.
Yeah, I think, the real racing experience really comes into play there. When you're used to the real car, causing you 3 or 10 hours of headaches when you hit something else with it, you're less likely to do it than you might be in the simulator when it's just a Control R away to get a new car. So Wire
a little scruffy through turn 6. It must be coming back onto the banking. Now he's in behind. Sandwiched in here. Good gear shifts and good power from Saprucha. He's looking 2 for 1 here potentially.
When he's committing, staying on that double yellow line.
Wow, Kowalczyk braking a little early there, or Saprucha diving it in really deep. Oh, that is just a bit too ambitious.
We call that one the Joker lap. Unfortunately, we're not doing rallycross today.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's laughing at it as well. Good stuff though, super opportunity. And after being patient earlier in the lap, well, patience can only last so long apparently. He had a big dive for it.
Well, you know what they say about racing drivers, right? And gaps. Speaking of, Charles Kowalczyk manages to put the block on Saprucha, but Saprucha's going to hold the inside against Tim Wire. Oh man, I'm getting nervous for them as they do this. Again, though, pretty skillful, pretty clean driving. Tim Wire gives a little bit of room on the inside, and they manage to get through without making any contact.
Yeah, good stuff from this group here. 14th, 15th, 16th. It's looking mighty dark around the track now, Devon.
Yeah, that sun is setting. The planes are still landing on the back straightaway. I'm not sure we've got any on camera yet.
Oh, there's the headlights. Brilliant. And the sort of marker lights, position light, corner lights that this Mustang's equipped with as well. course, we're very fortunate to be able to flick the big light switch on all of the track lighting at full blast as well.
Yeah, you never run out of light. That's for sure when you're racing around here. It's not like we're at VIR where lights are mounted on traffic signs and construction equipment, right?
Yeah, maybe, get your buddy who's got a room at the lodge to leave his curtains open.
Here. Solid little pack there still, and solid little pack ahead of them. That little group of Muleman, Flamian, Meyer is still racing along into NASCAR 3 and 4 here. And I have this feeling that Meyer's going to get a nice enough draft that there might be a little bit of action by the time they get down into turn number 1. Meyer in that green car looks like he's running the Drive Trainer Motorsport livery. I think that might be a stock one, though.
I don't think so. We got a bit of love for them in our YouTube chat, Devin.
Ooh, okay, that makes sense. I was trying to figure out what a DTM was without a German flag attached to it.
So then a bit of a checkup between this group that we've had our eyes on in towards turn number 1 there. And the next group behind them of Robertson and Giebler is a big move from Meyer. And he's going to get himself ahead of Mullerman. But yeah, that next group behind, I think, are just going to potentially bridge that gap if they keep battling as they have. Pretty equal lap times all around. A lot of 2:03.8s in that group. And Love's gotten up to second while we've been looking deeper in the field, and all of that group had some pretty slow lap times last time around, so something's kicked off up front. Nicholas Love through to second, John Wilding up into third, and Alex Albert back into fourth. I didn't see it, but that lap time says to me they've all lost about a second and a half.
Yeah, I didn't spot it either, though I might have to do a quick scroll back there for it. But if I was a betting man, I'd say bus stop, slow down, something along those lines. Yeah, sure enough, Alex Albert made a mistake going into the bus stop and had to give a bunch back, and it cost the guys behind him a little bit as they went around him.
Well, it's still Nick Love up there in second. John Wilding and Alex Albert having a little bit of back and forth on the radio about the transmission in this car. And you lose quite a lot of time with iRacing's automatic clutch compared to properly using a clutch.
I gotta be a manly man and hit all the clutch buttons. Come on.
It would be unfair if it was the other way around.
Speaking of clutches, though, do we want to elaborate on Justin Hall's setup for the evening? I heard that he's got his fair share of problems with his equipment.
Yeah, so it's got some nice load cell pedals. Should give you good feel across all 3 pedals. However,
and a beautiful racing suit, for the record.
Oh yeah. Cowabunga, dude. Buddy's brake pedal has failed him, and the replacement parts haven't arrived in time. So he's gone ahead and used the clutch mapped as a brake pedal, and therefore no actual proper clutch pedal. I don't know. He's just real keen to make sure he could get out on track in this championship race.
I definitely wanted to get his participation credit, that's for sure, but he's doing well enough after that early incident and a pretty solid qualifying effort that put him in 10th place. He's fallen to the back and raced back up to 20th, so don't think he can be too sad. And compared to how his practice was going last night and last week, this is a substantial improvement. I saw him in the barriers more often than not when we were practicing.
Can I just say, how good do these cars look in the infields? A little bit of light on them, looking shiny, headlights on, marker lights on, bit of brake rotor glow into those big stopping zones. I just wish I could smell it.
Oh man, I love these cars, and honestly, this might be sacrilegious, but I think this might be one of my favorite Mustang body styles. I'm gonna say it's my favorite.
The current generation of Ford Mustang is good. This just harkens back to a time when they went, if we put a Mustang badge on it and it's got a V8 in it, it'll sell, right? Like, does the suspension have to be good? Does the car have to be athletically styled? No. It's a good... I like that.
What shape is tougher than a square, I think that's what was going on in the design room that way anyways.
Just a little bit of that retro hint to it as well, that everyone was on in the late 90s, early 2000s too.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like it. I like it for this, and it's making some good racing all through the field too. Mark McCormick now has 6 seconds of free real estate to second place Nick Love and John Wilding and Alex Albert. I think Jordan Butler picked up a slowdown, one of those pesky slowdowns through the bus stop last time away, so he's going to have to pedal real hard to make sure he stays with this group.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually enjoying this battle here with Charles Kowalczyk and his teammate Sean Saputra. The two of them are side by side through this section of the infield as they head out onto the banking. But just a few seconds ago, that was Kowalczyk.
Oh no, Saputra, too much power, not enough traction, and he's had a huge wiggle moment, lost a lot of speed and time, but kept it out of the barriers. Plenty of paved area down on that apron.
Yeah, thank you NASCAR for saving that one, but really shows how these cars can bite even with only, 350, 400 horsepower in these things, about 420, I think.
Even that sounds a little optimistic. I think you're rocking about 320 American ponies, and it doesn't always feel like that sometimes.
That 325, you're right.
As you say, all that through some relatively primitive rear suspension, but that keeps it lively.
Oh yeah, we got aero, we got a solid rear axle, might even have leaf springs in the back of the thing. Great stuff. For the record, I'm pretty sure they're Coney shocks. Ooh, big run here. That was Mark Kruger deciding that discretion's the better part of valor, and then losing a spot to Charles Kowalczyk for showing as much bravery as he did.
Yeah, and also Kyle Robertson here at this group of 11, qualified 17th, running 11th right now, one of the bigger movers up front. Flaming came from 13th to 7th. So,
I was going to say, yeah, Robertson making a case for that huge ass hard charger award, but also another member of that Drive Trainer Motorsports team. Doing good for the team name, it looks. Also noticed that critically, I think both of them have a different logo on the roof of the car. So each one's distinguishable by what they got up there.
Better than being distinguishable by what they've got down there.
Hey, Mr. Down Under over here.
Indeed. So, again, still, Mark McCormick leading. No pit stops from any of our front runners, from any of our top 30 in this race so far. Did we get word on when we expect this starting fuel might put on the low fuel light and we'll see some down that famous Daytona pit road?
I gotta think that it'll be about 20 laps before they hit the pit lane. Maybe a little bit further than that. It's a little bit hard to tell. My early math was based on the wrong starting fuel, so I'm kind of filling in the blanks right here with some guesstimation. But yeah, around 20 laps sounds about right to me.
We've had 12 completed so far, and still lots of great little battle packs around the circuit as the slipstream at Daytona does what it does. So you've got 3, maybe 4 cars for the second place. Jordan Butler still just trying to stay on the tail of that one. Garrett Meyer leading a great little group in 6th place with Chris Flamin, Chris Knisley. Lee Moorleman's still just in touch with them, and Andrew Cossack there too. Then a little bit of space to this group. That's Kyle Robertson, Ian Giebler, Charles Kowalczyk, Mark Kruger, and Tim Wire. Sean Saputra, after that little slide that we caught earlier, is a bit by himself, and so is David Warden, but then you've got Brandon Marshall, Justin Hall, and Patrick Pursley, 18th, 19th, 20th. I don't think that pedal setup's doing a whole lot for Justin Hall's pace. He has been a podium sitter previous rounds in this championship. And then you've got Michael Thorne and Jonathan Patterson together 21st and 22nd. And you look a little further back and you've got Bill Furry and Jared Cubitt together 26th and 27th as well. So there's not too many people having a completely lonely race yet around Daytona.
Well, I was going to say, you're going to stop at Patrick Pursley before you mention Michael Thorne, the highest up Canadian in the race there. But doing pretty well for himself, considering he qualified 28th, up about 7 spots since the start of the race.
You got to work on putting a little bit more racing juice in the water supply up there, bud.
It all ends up in the snowmobile crowd, let me tell you.
Yeah, too many wannabe Zamboni drivers, not enough wannabe racing drivers, even though you're a country with some great heritage of Formula One world champions, etc.
True, and if you want to see a fight on Saturday night, you go to the hockey rink and not to the dirt track. So there's definitely some challenges, but no, we got a good community of racers up here, East Coast, West Coast, you take your pick. I'm actually kind of impressed by this group that Kyle Robertson had managed to pull together. They had about 3 laps in a row where they were running faster than the guys ahead, and now Kyle Robertson, I've just cursed him. He's gone and put it so deep into turn 1 that I think he's more or less given back everything that he gained, and is now glued to the back, or has Charles Kowalczyk and Ian Giebler glued to his bumper again.
Oh, almost a little bit of a touch there in the first horseshoe. This Kowalczyk had a tiny little bit of a look, but knew it wasn't quite on there.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm in that chat, I'm going, guys, let's straighten it out. Let's stay in line. We're making time on the guys ahead. Let's just keep doing it. So we really need to add some hand signals into the ChampCar simulator. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Those push to talk, the auto-bound commands like pass left, pass right. Replace those with like a visible hand in the cockpit, maybe. Oh, Kowalczyk, huge squirrely moment where we saw his teammate Saputra do similar not too long ago. Good avoidance, good heads-up stuff from the guys behind.
In case you were wondering, he was doing about 65 miles an hour there while pointing the car 40 degrees to the left. That's pretty sweet. Looks like he's given up a run there, though, to Mark Kruger. Mark Kruger dived in for a little bit of a side draft, but decided he didn't have quite enough overlap to justify it. Still another hour and a half to go in this race, so probably a good decision at this point. And no one in the top 15 has done anything really, really wrong just yet.
Why'd you go there, Devin?
I like chaos, man. What can I say?
You can wish for all the action you want in that final 30 minutes. We're settling in for the strategy game and the fuel consumption. I think, Mark McCormick, even though he's backed the pace off a little bit up front, there's no way he's going to be able to run as deep on that fuel tank into this race as some of these other guys. There's a huge cutback in a battle between Kowalczyk and Giebler in towards turn 1. I think Giebler tried to get down the inside, ran it way too deep. Charles Kowalczyk snipped back underneath, and they run as they did, but not without confusing the timing beacons just a little bit. I think there's some other drivers who've been saving that fuel deeper in the pack who could run maybe 2 laps deeper into this one than your race leader, or drivers who haven't been thinking about their fuel consumption. And then the other thing, we've got a limited fuel tank size compared to the stock. Is anyone going to be able to change tires with no additional penalty? And is that something they're going to want to do as well?
I am a little bit curious to see what the fuel to tire situation ends up being. I think my question is also what fuel level do you take, knowing that you're probably going to have to make a second stop, right? Because it might make some sense to try and adjust your track position by not taking a full stop at the first one, and maybe getting some clean air to run in, or maybe being able to separate yourself off with a draft partner. So, something else to consider. We might have a few guys negotiating like that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
One thing I can guarantee is that everyone has the correct amount of displacement blocks in their fuel tanks here today. So there will be no holes rubbed in them as we're racing around.
Yes. The iRacing digital scrutineering is very, very thorough, isn't it?
Absolutely. Back here watching Nicholas Love as he rides around behind Alex Albert. And Love is no stranger to fuel save, so wouldn't be surprised to see him doing some of that. Alex Albert.
And fuel saving is no stranger to Love.
There you go. Alex Albert lights it up on the way out of the first horseshoe there, though. That was pretty fun looking. These cars are really just, I can't say it enough, absolutely a blast to drive. And I actually think that the iRacing series where these cars race is an open setup series. And the setups that you can achieve in that open series kind of take some of the joy out of this car by making it just too settled. Watching guys drift these things around the corners and really have to fight for every single little bit of forward grip is really sort of the fun of it to me. And these guys, I bet you they've got grins on their faces, even though their arms are probably starting to get a little bit tired.
So these two starting to pull ahead of what was a 4-car group. Butler losing a chunk of time. Wilding just on the fringes of that slipstream, closes up a little bit towards the bus stop as Nick Love has a big coast and roll into the corner.
I think Wilding took a little, he may have taken one of those off tracks to kind of pull himself up a little bit, because he had a really, really solid line through the bus stop that time and is really making up some ground here as he tickles the back of the draft there from Nick Love. You can see him just out of the shot as they kind of come on to the tri-oval here. And if Nick Love decides to make a move, then it's all to play for John again.
Nick Love plays the clever game. John Wilding throws it in very deep there. Tough braking zone. This ABS doesn't really like to work with turning and braking at the same time.
Yeah, a little advanced for a car that debuted in 2004, 2005, something like that. Yeah, your motorsports ABS wasn't quite at the level that it is today.
This car was in this body shape was in Need for Speed Underground too.
But was it as awesome in that game? No way.
No, it was pretty good though. This is severely lacking, neon
nitrous.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think we're both right.
I mean, I don't think they're mutually exclusive, are they?
I mean, IMSA says that neon is mandatory. Have you seen these things around Daytona lately?
Certainly, there's always some interesting lighting arrays on the ChampCar Endurance Series competitors. I saw a picture from one of the other years, just trying to hype up this coming year. And yeah, teams love to get some LED strips, etc.
Well, and you got to wonder how many of the guys out here today are just excited to have some practice for their race next weekend, right?
Devin, I couldn't help but notice that our new friends in the Drive Trainer Motorsports are all Club Florida.
Mm-hmm. I had to think about that myself as well. This might be a home track for some of them.
Is there anywhere in Florida that's more than about a 3-hour drive from Daytona anyway?
I have honestly no idea.
I'm probably shrinking down Florida a little too much with that, but it's relatively centrally located for most folk in the region, I would have thought.
Speaking of centrally located, we got John Wilding taking the center and now the outside line as he kind of peeks around the outside of Nick Love. These cars more or less tap out at around, 150, 149 miles an hour. So all out of gear by the time they're going down into turn number 1. Real tight on the exit though. Confident driving there. And I believe that Mark McCormick may actually have had one of his first true lappings of the race as these guys make their way past Ben Sandberg, who hasn't had an extra pit stop, hasn't had an accident, or at least a real bad one anyway. But he was far enough off the pace that the leaders are starting to catch him.
Yeah, starting lap 18 so far of the race. Is Mark Kruger on pit lane for a strategy call, or was there a problem for him? I'm just seeing that's basically the first car we've had onto pit lane from our top 30.
It looks like a strategy call to me. He's been kind of following that battle that includes Ian Giebler, Charles Kowalczyk, Kyle Robertson, and those guys have been pretty feisty at times. When Robertson can get them all lined up, they do pretty well. But as soon as Giebler gets even a whiff of a look underneath him, and Charles too, they're making contact. They're kind of racing each other pretty hard. So I wonder if Kruger just decided that maybe clear air was better than following those guys around.
Yeah, no fuel. He went no tires, just 20 seconds of fuel. So we'll see if that's the common thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can tick that for Mark Kruger. He's dumped 20 seconds worth of fuel into the tank. It's going to be a couple gallons for sure.
Mm-hmm. Another factor to consider as we start to see some of these groups separate a little bit is that this is getting on to the second half or near the end of the first stint, and these tires will be getting a little hotter, a little greasy, especially if you're not careful on that throttle pedal. It is easy to kind of cook the rears on this thing, just because it is so front heavy. It likes to understeer from the middle out, and trying to compensate with a little bit of extra throttle can pay dividends in the short term, but punishes you in the long term.
Busier on pit lane now. Jordan Butler in from what was fifth, I'm pretty sure. Did he ever shoot the box a little bit? I don't see the car going up on the jacks. No, it's just that classic Mustang body roll. So this looks like fuel only for him too.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone. I kind of have this wonder. It looks like he took about the same amount of fuel as our last stopper there, Mark Kruger. But I am kind of wondering if we'll see anyone try the short stop first and the long stop later.
I mean, if you were like this whole stint 3 or 4 seconds back off a train and a group of cars that you really wanted to be a part of, then that slightly earlier, slightly shorter stop, so that you can then hopefully leapfrog up to them and then maybe fuel save like hell to then make up the difference. Could be a good way to go, potentially.
There is also the question of tires. I mean, I'm not 100% sure that the tires are as good at the end as they are at the start on one of these things. And I wonder if there's an argument to be made for an early set of tires so that, at least your tires are 40 minutes newer than the guys ahead of you or the guys around you by the end of the race. That's something to think about as well.
I'm looking at the race leader, and he doesn't look like he's heading for pit lane this time. He's had basically no slipstream the whole way around.
But if you listen to him, he's lifting just short of turn number 1. I'd say maybe 100, 200 feet out and kind of rolling it real deep all the way in. So, there's a good chance that he's been doing as much fuel saving as he can from there.
Got to think of that long game in a 2-stop race like this.
And with the gap he's managed to secure for himself, that the long pace seems to be his benefit, because Alex Albert's got a lap 7/10 faster than him as his best, but the average is certainly on balance in the favor of Mark McCormick.
Wonder if you might just see a little more work between Nick Love and Alex Albert to try to close it down, but it stands at 10 seconds, and in racing that's a long time. We're talking equal machinery, we're talking equal setups. They've lost Wilding and Butler, so it's down to just the two of them if they plan to or are able to work together.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other piece of that is going to be making sure that they keep it clean through the bus stop, because it is very easy to get a slowdown and peg yourself back a fair amount. out there.
They're making their way through the bus stop now. An unweighted change of direction. It's pretty bouncy curbs too.
Luckily, they pulled the sausage curbs out for us, so we don't have any of those today, but is something that you can find out here. They run the INSA curbs last time ChampCar was out here, right?
Great question, Devin.
I'm pretty sure they did. They had those really sharp, aggressive curves on the inside of the bus stop. Not enough to, send your car airborne, but definitely enough to hurt those tires if you decided to use them too often.
Yeah, enough to potentially cut up a road tire.
I'm actually enjoying this little battle here for 5th place. Garrett Meyer sitting duck as Lee Muehlman gets a big run on him, and Christopher Flamian kind of sits sheepishly behind, wondering if it's go or no go. And both the Chris's, Flamian and Nicely, are riding behind those two ahead as they battle, with Andrew Kosick giving them even wider of a berth from 9th place.
Yeah, it is all a good little scrap here. What'll probably end up over 6th because Butler's already pitted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really solid, and a lot of something that Daytona does really well with these cars is, it's a wide enough track that there's a few different ways to get into and get out of the corners. A few right ways, so to speak. So you can see some variation and some really good battling in something like this. Ooh. And every time we seem to check in on a battle, we see someone get real loose as they go through that bumpy section on the way to the banking. Lee Muehlman that time was the victim as he spun up the tires a little bit. And now we've got, that looks like Meyer popping in and out of existence. For those less familiar with the simulator, that's a sign that his internet connection is a little bit unstable. So rather than sending him flying around into other people, they'll just pull him out of the simulator for a second and make him disappear.
Whole group goes single file through the bus stop. Starting to see just a couple more pit callers though, by the way, because we had Brandon Marshall and Justin Hall. We've got Jared Cubitt in now. I'm looking at these pit stop times for Marshall and Hall, and I'm wondering if they went for tyres because it's 31 seconds and 29 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a wonder for me as well. And I got to think that Justin Hall in particular was pushing pretty hard as he fought his way through a lot of back markers after that early spin. So if that's the case, then his tires might have been even more used up than most.
Just wanted to do something different. That is not a great line from Lee Muehlman. Garrett Meyer's there to pick it up, try to cut back underneath, and then get clear before the next braking zone.
It's easy to do in these things. They definitely like to lock them up, and I don't even think that was lockup. That was just misjudging the braking point a little bit.
There's a few of these things where I can't help but remember that, that's a difficult braking zone in a GT3, and then coming out of the, infield and onto the banking, you get really loose in a GT3 or a prototype as well. So what's a difficult corner for these cars is just a difficult corner, full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And, turn 1 and the bus stop are the two places where you can really, hurt yourself on this track. And it's easy to do, especially because with those long breaks of the straightaways and NASCAR turns 1, 2, 3, 4 between, you kind of get lulled into this sense of security in the sim. You're just like, okay, I'm just going to hold my foot on the gas for 30 seconds. And then all of a sudden you're flying into turn number 1 at 150 miles an hour, and car's upset and tires on the verge of locking up, and you're trying to hold it onto the line. But if you get 10 feet offline, well, you're going to run into some of those marbles too. And those will definitely be a factor, certainly by this point in the race, and even more of a factor as we get deeper into it.
Pit lane's busier again. Aaron Thorpe, Michael Thorne, Bill Furry on their way out.
Oh, and Nick Love and Alex Albert dive and take the lane this time.
Race leader McCormick as well. So all your leaders to pit lane at the end of lap 22.
That's going to be really concerning to see if you're Albert and Nicholas
Corbett's
Love.
on the jacks.
Ooh. Oh, and Alex Albert actually stopped a little short and had to bump it forwards, it looked like. Love's on the jacks, Albert's on the jacks.
Yeah, right side's going up. Now it's left side's up for McCormick as well.
And I do wonder if we'll see any one side only or maybe one side per stop kind of strategies. Looks like both of the second and third place cars are taking all four.
Yeah, so that's 28 seconds of service for McCormick, 29 or so. That might be what it takes to change all the tyres. Albert, 26.4. Might have feel that short or only gone for 2 tyres. Not sure, but he's out there just slightly quicker. And Nick Love, not a competitive looking pit stop.
At 33 seconds. Either that was some bad fuel math or he's rimmed it and the other guys have gone short. Either way, Mark McCormick takes an unorthodox line through the first horseshoe and Nick Love takes one on the way out of the pits. Did he smack the wall there?
Front right's a bit bent in. I saw Albert get super squirrely through that hairpin too as well. Well, the new and cold tyres.
Yeah, that was a big strike there for Nick Love, and actually I think that hit the rear as much as it did the front. If he's messed up the toe on the back end of that car, that could be catastrophic for his race. We'll have to see as these cool tires warm up. Alex Albert showing how hazardous they are, drifting it on the way out. And I was kind of wondering if we'd see guys going for the tires on this stop, because I wouldn't want to get caught with cold tires on the last stop and someone else is on warm tires, because there's definitely a warming up period here. Interestingly, Lee Muehlman, Garrett Meyer, Andrew Kosick, Charles Kowalczyk, they've all managed to do more than 22 laps. So they've done a better job of fuel saving than the leaders, and they're going to be able to take this a little bit deeper than them, than those top 3 that just stopped.
Well, they've run almost the whole first 45 minutes of the race in a group of 5 or 6, haven't they? They're all looking for pit entry now.
Mm-hmm. But that extra stop, I mean, that's pretty critical. That gets you closer. Ooh!
Kosick's practiced his pit entry, and it shows.
Yeah, and Muehlman was a little timid there and nearly got run over on the way in. Looked like NASCAR as they were coming in there, 4 or 5 wide.
The race onto pit road. Yeah, all looking to find their crews. I'm looking, and I'm not seeing any tyre changes here. So there is an interesting split of strategy across the field. Got to keep an eye on cars like these. Are they going to run out of boot stint of this race?
Kowalczyk is taking tires, and by the looks of things, either Meyer's taking all the fuel in the world, and Muehlman too, or they're taking tires too. Or maybe they're going fuel and no tires. Always a possibility as well. See a little bit of clipping there. Cars are not able to hit each other in the simulator until they get out into the pit lane, the merging lanes and the high speed lane. But yeah, it looks like Muehlman and Meyer are going to merge in right beside Flamian and Robertson with a lap more heat, a few laps more heat in their tire. Just one more lap. But we'll be able to see the difference potentially right away.
So that's a pit stop out of everyone. With still an hour 10 to go in this one. We are expecting a second stop, but probably pretty late in this one. McCormick leads by 9 seconds from Alex Albert. And then Jordan Butler, John Wilding, Andrew Kosick, and Nick Love together for 5th and 6th.
You got Mark McCormick kind of sitting alone in no man's land. In the lead rather, with that pretty big gap, but it's a little bit smaller. Alex Albert only 8.7 seconds behind, more than 10 as they went into the pit lane. And that was really, Andrew Kosick made up a whole bunch of spots, and now he's coming for the pit lane. He must have had a penalty on the way in, actually. That's a bummer for him. Got to think that's a speeding in the pit lane. Though he's coming for a stop now. Is that a stop and hold for speed in the pit lane?
I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been an unsafe entry, but that would be... not sure how you'd accomplish...
Speeding on the exit, or you get a penalty for cutting... There's a paved part to the left of the exit that you can get a penalty for cutting. That's what I would suspect is most likely.
The way he's sitting there, it's a 40-second stop and hold for that, I believe. So that's a real shame. It hurts to do that one early because then you got to do another hour of racing, but you're a mile out of place. Action on track though. Lee Muehlman holding off a charge from Kyle Robertson. Robertson has led this pack.
Cossack sped on pit entry. He drove it like it was the old pit exit.
Okay, that makes sense. So he crossed the end of the NASCAR pit lane and then he hit the foot to the floor, and okay, that makes sense. Easy mistake to make, especially if you haven't tested your pit entries enough. But anyway, we're following along with Robertson and Muehlman. Robertson's got the inside line, preferred line, and looked like he even got a bit of side draft to help him out. We'll see if Muehlman's able to suck up to the rear bumper as they get going straighter. And actually, the high side looks to have given him that little bit of extra run. Too wide into the bus stop. Muehlman gives the spot. But it looks like he's going to get the exit as well. Good run for him, and Flamian is lurking behind. It's always tough. You get this run on the inside and you don't got anywhere to go. Save that fuel. It's the best you can make of it.
Yeah, very similar pit stop times out of all these guys. They were battling each other before that first round of stops. They're battling each other side by side down into turn number 1 over 7th place. Oh, and they make just a little bit of contact there. Nothing severe.
Yeah, just two different lines. I think Garrett ran it in, Robertson ran it in a little bit faster than maybe he intended and kind of slid wide in that middle portion of the corner. Either way, Muehlman's up the inside of Flamian, though he kind of pinches his exit and is going to pay for that as they run down towards the kink.
Yeah, don't really want to be on the outside around the kink there, and Muehlman now gets dive bombed just a little bit. Garrett Myers looking down the inside here.
Well, and Myers had a pretty good shake of that pit stop too. I mean, full length, full fat, but he's managed to get himself close to his buddy Robertson, and I gotta imagine that the two of them, both being sort of affiliated with that DTM racing team.
It feels like ATM racing sometimes, doesn't it?
Drivetrain Motorsports are going to be, you always want to beat the teammate, right? So I got to imagine that he's going to be pushing hard to make his way through that pack.
Do Americans call them ATMs ever, or exclusively cash machines?
You're asking the wrong guy. I've only heard of ATMs. So. And our producer is confirming that he's on the ATM side of the debate. Weigh in the chat if you got strong feelings about this.
I just know what they were called in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Speaking of hard chargers, we've got a few guys that have made up some big moves, or big spots. Kyle Robertson leading that pack has 10 spots positive to his name, as well as Mark Kruger, who's ahead of him on track, running in 6th place currently. But the biggest winner so far is actually Corey Barrett. Started from near last place and has made his way all the way up to 17th. But of course, as I call out his name, he chooses to take the Joker lap through the bus stop.
I mean, if we were looking at Corey earlier in the race, I'm sure he's done this before as well. But yeah, just as you mention it.
Mm-hmm. And we have actually gotten a little note here from Race Control. I'm not sure if we've got a replay of it, but David Warden in the 23 and the 50 car of Well, I believe that is Andrew Kosick got together on the exit of the first horseshoe pretty severely, but no further action at this time. And we'll see if those two get so lucky, if there's any more contact later in the race. Live stewarding here in the ChampCar iRacing series, being provided by our very own Tom Ellison. Yeah, that was quite a hit. And looked like Kosick, as he was trying to catch it, caught David there for a second time and spun him around as well. Deep move, though.
So there's a check up in the exit, kind of, and 3 into 2 doesn't go, and then the follow on from that's also not as pretty.
Yeah, it's tough. You can't. When do you give up that time, and when do you commit? It's always a tough decision on track in the moment. It looks like the front end of the field, I'd say about the top 15 is now starting to deal with some lap traffic, and with the drafts that these cars provide with their big boxy cars, it can be a situation where you pass a lapped car and then all of a sudden he's glued to you for 5, 6, 7 laps, and he can frustrate a little bit, because he gets the impression that maybe they're quicker than you when really it's just the draft that's keeping them up. And these guys will be coming up on Mark Kruger, who will not be a lapped car for them. Kruger in that white car running in 6th place, getting run down.
Kruger was one of the first to stop and had quite a short stop as well, so that's leapfrogged him up to some track position, but it does seem like this group behind him have just a little bit more pace. And I didn't see any tyre change for Lee Mullerman. I wonder if any of these drivers here do have some slightly better tyres as well.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. By the looks of things, they did have long enough stops that they could have taken tires, but I didn't see all of them up on the jacks either. The only exception to that is maybe Kowalczyk. I'm almost certain I saw Kowalczyk on the jacks, but he's hanging off the back of that group, a few seconds behind.
We really are setting ourselves up for an interesting, final set of stops and run to the end, because there definitely is a big chunk of drivers who appear like they're going to go no tires and fuel only. And that probably works when you're in a pack like this and in a group like this. You can stay with them by driving cautiously on that infield and then make up tenths of a second up on the banking. Garrett Myers looking around the outside of Chris Flammy, and both of them have lost a tiny bit of touch with the group in front. But then are you going to have enough fight left in the car on the final lap?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know that this setup tends to go to sort of a terminal understeer on entry, and then just a lack of forward bite on exit. When it's really tight up ahead of them, that looks like Jerry Bavnik, a lap car, trying to make room for Robertson and Muehlman as they come through, but it's always tight through that exit of turn number 1. And Garrett's putting a move on the inside of Mr. Flamion there. Outside, but we'll see if he's got the run. He's squeezing Flamion. Veteran move there, though he pops back out to the outside. And he's able to take it away. Little pedal there from Chris Flamion, I think. But now they're going to have to navigate their way around. I saw that too. It looked like Bavnik didn't see that Flamion was coming through in the second place, and for a second there started to turn down on him, but found him in the blind spot eventually, and gave him some room.
It is always a tough spot to be, that second car coming through and you're not sure if they've seen you. That applies quite well here, and everyone should know it on the racetrack too.
Oh, I've just had a yawn, not because the race is boring, but because we're getting so dark. It's almost 1:30 in the morning, so we're starting to get towards that witching hour in the race when the weird things happen, in those wee hours of the morning. So we'll see if that's still the case when we're running on 8 times speed through the night. see if any mistakes start to get made in the second half of the race here, as we've just crossed through the first hour, and now we're staring down 59 minutes till the end of the race.
Looking at 30 more laps of Daytona International Speedway 2. They have caught Mark Kruger, and by they I mean Kyle Robinson and Lee Mullerman. So that's side by side on the banking underneath the big grandstands.
And Kruger taking that inside line, Robertson taking the very wide entry. Oh, and Mullerman stuffs it up, makes it 3 wide. And Robertson actually, I think, had to take some evasive action there. That's a little respite for Mark Kruger ahead.
Oh, understeer city from Mullerman too as well. I think he had that steering lock cranked on all the way, and the car was not turning. So that's going to put some heat through them as well.
And I'm seeing that team car of Garrett Meyer just behind, and like I said, I'm sure he wants to get up to his buddy there. And if the two of them hook up, I wonder if they blast off and get away from the pack. Critical times to be the fly in the ointment for Lee Mullerman here.
Don't forget, though, that Mullerman and Flamion are familiar to each other as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A fair amount of driving between those two, definitely in this series. Ooh, what's going on here?
I think Robertson missed a shift there, couldn't get it in gear, no drive off turn number 6. No wheel spin, but he went nowhere, and I'm going to guess he was trying to go from 2nd to 3rd and found 5th or nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to say nothing by the looks of how that went. That was no good.
The old 2nd to 5th goes a lot better than 5th to 2nd, though.
Great camera angles of the battle ahead of him, though, as they head into the bus stop, and he takes that really clean entry. Really, the key here seems to be making sure that you eat all of that first curve on the left-hand side. The off tracks are policed very tight on the next 3 apexes, but you can get away with a little bit on the entry and translate it into some speed on the way out. And we're seeing a little flicker of the most famous huge ass sponsor there on Chris Flanion's car under the rear wing as they get going. 2 wide, 2x2 into turn number 1.
Yeah, pick your lane. Flamion's going to dive out of that one.
He's seen that one before.
Watching what's happening up front. Turn 1, not a happy hunting ground for Lee Mullerman at the minute. Around the outside did not work for him on that time, and he almost squeezes back across Robertson through that quick change of direction. Flat out in just about any car, but still tough to go too wide.
And I gotta say, it looks like Mullerman's charging the corners a little bit and kind of diamonding them in the horseshoes, and it doesn't seem like it's working for him quite as well as it could be. Meyer's starting to make a bit of a gap, and nobody can make a move on him on entry, but he's definitely paying the price with the pace on the exit.
This whole group, they were catching Mark Kruger, and now they've let him go.
Yeah, Kruger's a few seconds up the road in that white car, and we're seeing him kind of flickering at the edge of the shots, but for all this battling, he's not really being punished for that light fuel load and that short stop. Oh man, and speaking of lap traffic, check out John Wilding. Right now he's riding with Michael Thorne and Jared Cubitt behind, and that entry to the bus stop that time by was absolutely hectic for him. It's held up Nick Love as well, and Nick Love is now having to deal with Tim Wyer trying to go around the outside of him.
Can't flash the headlights in this iRacing Ford Mustang FR 500S, otherwise Wilding might consider it. Oh, hello, I don't like that. 3 wide on the banking with a flashing car. John Wilding is where the Wilding things are, and he's going to have to go around the outside and outbrake them both in towards turn number 1. It's a couple of cars between himself and Love momentarily, but still, sketchy moment. Love gets just a little bit of a hit check.
Yeah, Jared Cubitt kind of dipped out a little bit wide there. I'm not sure exactly what the plan was, but either way, it's another bit of contact on that car for Nick Love. And, we saw him have that little incident on the exit of the pit lane. And despite that, he's managed to show some pretty good pace afterwards, running consistent 203s, but definitely not showing the kind of 202 pace that we saw him running earlier in the race. So he's going to have to change his fortunes if he wants to end up on the podium.
These are not quick laps right now for Nick Love, as he's got a three-way fight between Michael Thorne, Jared Cubitt, and Tim Wire, between himself and...
Ooh. Snap through there. I wonder if that's that rear alignment. Nick Love there. Looked like a right rear tire that wasn't cooperating to me anyway. Checking back in with our leaders, Mark McCormick making easy work of it as it goes. 40, 45, 50 minutes left in the race, and McCormick is 10 seconds clear of Alex Albert, even though Alex Albert shortchanged him a little bit at the pit stop. Alex Albert qualified on the pole by 1,000th, running second place, and working his way through some traffic, but he too has a pretty fair gap. Another, 17 seconds back to Jordan Butler behind in third. And Jordan Butler himself has taken to the pit lane now, actually. I just see him diving onto the pit lane. And I'm not sure that could be a scheduled stop. It'd be pretty early, but maybe he's decided the window's open. He's just going to take it right now.
Yeah, I wonder if they've just reached that point where, okay, we bring the tank here, we can make it home. And for Nick Love, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to get a little bit of repairs there. Jordan Butler's going for some tires too, so maybe that's the strategy, is get some tires done here. I don't know why you'd fuel so heavily earlier than if you were going to take tires later. Mm-hmm. But that is about top 10 cars on the pit lane right now. Love got some tires done, definitely got that car touched up. Is he going to be more careful on the pit exit this time?
Mm-hmm. And we do have a fast repair in the series, and Nick Love's very careful around the corner that time. But we do have a fast repair in the series, so I got to think that Nick Love just was biding his time until that window opened and doing the fast repair, get that car cleaned up, running straight, and replace those right sides, was what I saw. It looked like the right side of the car went up, so maybe get fresh right side tires, because those ones were probably the ones that were bearing the brunt of any bad alignment.
I reckon it's still pretty short odds on Nick Love for a podium.
Yeah. Could do.
It's been pretty quick, ran up in second at the front of that pack for a bit as well.
Mm-hmm. And we'll have to see how the pace shakes out. He's currently got Jerry Barvinick in the way, but I'm sure he'll make quick work of that as Barvinick dives to the outside and lets him by. But yeah, he has shown good pace even with that damage. He was only, 6-7 tenths off second place. And so if he keeps that up, he's definitely faster than the guys that are running in packs from 5th through 11th on the track right now. A little bit of courtesy lift there from Jerry, making sure that Nick Love can get by cleanly on the way into the bus stop.
Yep, smart stuff. It's all about managing the traffic in both directions for this kind of racing. At this point, you've got some of those, we had all of these big packs and groups of cars. We got to that first round of pit stops. Things shuffled out a little bit. They're all back together again now. I see 4 cars with Lee Mullerman in 5th. I see 4 with Robertson, Sean Sepulchre, Chris Nicely, and about to be Nick Love. And that is where the action has been.
Muleman spun him up on the exit at 1, and that's going to cost him all 3 spots. They're racing so close together. Oh, that was close. I thought he was going to snap back across the track once he got it loose there. But that promotes Garrett Meyer to the front of that little pack, and now he's got Jared Cubitt ahead of him and Mark Kruger, and that's it. And at some point, these guys have dropped Kyle Robertson. I'm not sure I saw when it happened, but he's had a bad lap. And
I would say the last lap, which was 12 seconds off Robertson.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I've actually gone back and I've checked. And he and Muleman were side by side in the first horseshoe, and Robertson was going to run away with it and then just got on the throttle a little too quick, spun it into the grass, spun it back the right way, and carried on. But that's been costly for him. Cost him, look like 6 positions, and he's going to, not to mention another 10 seconds off the back of that pack. Cubitt up and out of the way in that green car. Similar livery to the DTM guys, but not quite the same green. Living up to that 3 a.m. moment, though, as the clock ticks over into 3 o'clock simulator time for these guys.
Barrett on the lane for a second stop as well. So we've got a handful of cars that I think could be fueled to the end. Nick Love's running in 12th right now, but presumably fueled to the end. Jordan Butler, 15th, fueled to the end.
Kruger on the
Barrett
lane.
and some others. Yeah, so
And that adds up.
See how they shake out. Yeah, Kruger stopped early and short-filled.
But critically, he did stay ahead of that pack of guys that full fueled behind him for the entire length of that run. So I got to think that he might have a chance once those guys shake out, because, oh my God, these guys are battling so hard.
Still exciting on track. Myers lost 1 spot. He's lost 2 now to Flamian, but I think he will slot in just ahead. The 527 of Mullerman. I mean, when they race like this, you lose 1 spot, you're going to lose 2.
And patience is going to be wearing thin. I mean,
Oh, but he wants one back as he dives it down the inside of the second hairpin on Flamian.
racing room given there, and Flamian's gone out in the dirty stuff a little bit, but he's going to have the inside on the way back. And, oh, it pinches. Meyer gets touched. They both managed to keep it the point in the right way, but that's going to cost Meyer some time. And those cars all look a little bit scuffed after all that hard racing they got going on. That group split up a little bit now, though, and Charles Kowalczyk actually the beneficiary as he manages to break away from Muleman, Flamian, and Meyer. So I wonder, will Charles Kowalczyk be able to turn that little turn of fortune into his shot at a podium? John Wilding and Alex Albert ahead of him before Mark McCormick, of course, leading the pack. But it looks like there's about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 guys, 7 guys for sure in play for 4th place.
It certainly is interesting. I want to license the game show hosted by Devin Peters, Churn of Fortune.
Everyone's just jealous of how well my cars turn.
They spin the big wheel, but actually it's churning butter. So, close moment here in towards turn 1 for Flamian and Mullerman. And Flamian gains a spot there. There's also a Kyle Robertson, Chris Knisley, Sean Saputra battle too.
Now that Robertson has had that little issue, Nicely and Saputra have managed to tear him or chase him back down. Nicely's had a quiet race, running a Captain Crunch livery. You'd think you'd hear him crunching all over the place, but quiet race from that guy, and been pretty consistent throughout. Only having to deal with that that Love racing car behind him, and Love delivery on that thing. I don't know if we can get a close shot on the hood, but really nifty sort of swapped paint job that they've done. Oh, and it gets very close into the West Horseshoe.
Well, we all got a little closer of a view than we bargained for on that one.
Oh, and a tire in the grass. A little compromised entrance there. Robertson seemingly comfortable holding them off, though, for now. Breaking away a little bit now. And that one appears to have calmed down a little bit.
So I'm guessing then that they're gonna need about 40 seconds of refueling.
Cumulative, you mean?
So what?
Cumulatively, you mean?
Yes, across both stops, but that's not possible at the first stops. You've seen some that have gone 31, 32 seconds of fueling at the first stop, and you're going to need 8 seconds as a splash towards the end. Whereas then it was Kruger, I think, went 20 seconds first up.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 31 seconds at the second stop, but I think we saw him take some tyres there as well. So I think we can still rule of thumb that 40 seconds of total pit stop time is the sort of minimum necessary to get you home.
Yeah, that's sort of consistent with the estimates we were seeing before the race. Around 58 laps kind of predicted, and maybe what would that be, around 25 gallons of fuel necessary for these cars. It will be interesting though to see how it shakes out, because not only is it a factor how much fuel these guys were able to save and how long they were able to push that first stop, but also how much fuel were they able to get in while brimming the tank, because getting more fuel into the car, running a little bit longer in that first stint, you might be able to get away with a slightly shorter second stop.
24.5 seconds on the second stop for Justin Hall. So he comes back out into 17th-ish, and he should be fueled to get to the end.
Mm-hmm. Cubic giving them wide berth, and I think I actually just saw a huge-ass looking car on the exit. Oh yeah, that's Justin Hall coming out of the pit lane right now. Thought that was Albert for a moment.
Really going to disown Justin like that.
I was confused because I saw the modern livery, of course. Oh, and sure enough, as promised, Alex Albert on the pit lane.
Here we go. Right side the car goes up on the jacks too at this stop as well.
Yeah, nose pops up, takes his fast repair there. Looked like he had a little bit of aero damage. I wonder if that was affecting the straight line. Maybe explaining that stop.
Did have some little fracas and altercation with someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's had an okay in lap by the looks of things.
Oh, in the pit exit, Alex Albert spun it around.
Oh wow! And how? Oh, that's just so hurtful. Gets the cold tires and gets back to the throttle after taking that right-hander real safe. And that's
get that man an LMP2 drive pronto.
And loyal viewers of IMSA will get that joke. But yeah, absolutely. And that's a heartbreaker. I know he had, really been hoping to kind of make amends and maybe make a bit of a comeback here, because ever since McCormick and Xiao Lu have joined the series, he hasn't quite had that last little bit of pace to get up to the front. And in front of him, the battle is heating up. Actually, I'm watching. Robertson and Saputra making significant contact on the exit of the West Horseshoe there. And Saputra squeezing Chris nicely in that Captain Crunch car too. Anyways, I know that Alex Albert had really been hoping for a positive result in the race, but that little slip-up might cost him the podium. We'll have to see. He did have a pretty good gap back to third place, so he might get away with it.
The funny thing is, it looped it around before the pit exit cone, so the total amount of time lost to that is recorded in the pit lane transit time. Tough moment here coming into the bus stop, but it's avoided as Chris Knisley rolls out real early to let the train go through single file. John Wilding onto the lane now as well, so we've got quite a smattering of cars that we suspect have made their final stop and are fueled to get to the end. Quite a lot of them doing it maybe earlier than we had initially penciled in.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we've also seen tires for them, which I wasn't expecting personally. So I do wonder if the temperature's dropped a little bit. The track temp has definitely come down about 6 degrees Fahrenheit. So I do wonder if that's starting to play into that consideration. Winds picking up a little bit as we go through 4 a.m. in simulator time. And it is also possible that Wilding is tuned into the broadcast and heard us hyping up about the fact that Albert had spun it around and decided to go in a little bit early and maybe lock in that lead, because he's just seen, as he's exiting the pit, Alex Albert leave turn one ahead of him, which that would be his first sighting of Alex Albert in, Lord knows, 30 minutes probably. Speaking of, Alex Albert's now up behind Nick Love, who was a podium contender once as well. And looks like he might be on for one of those again with that issue from Alex.
Yeah, these are the two highest running cars field to the end. Wilding not far behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Butler not far behind that either. So for Nick Love, I said, a podium could still be on for him here, definitely. But he's battling for what is net second place. He goes wide up the banking. And Albert's going to have the short run down next to the yellow line. So that's what I would call Albert back into second. Nick Love slotting into third. Pit stops adjusted.
A tough moment there. We haven't mentioned Ty Stover on the broadcast, running in 22nd place a lap down. He's just looped it on the exit of the turn onto the banking there. I guess that's turn number 7. Tough for him, but a solid race overall. I think one of the first times that we've seen him out. Welcome to the series.
What's that livery for Ty?
It's a private label. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Well, private label team hype is Tommy Milner's sim racing team.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I don't recognize the name. But who knows? Tommy Milner.
Active in the prototype racing and the iRacing special events, etc.
I was going to say, Tommy Milner and co, you're more than welcome to come and join us. We'll let you see what these ChampCar guys have to offer.
He's probably got a Daytona win or two.
Yeah, you'd think this
He's got a Rolex? He'd have a Rolex.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Googling it. Does Tommy Milner have a Rolex?
I believe so.
I feel like you drive a Corvette
that long.
For long enough.
I think he's got like 3 in my brain, but... Alex Albert, though, has managed to sneak ahead of Nick Love and is now battling with Chris Nicely. Nicely, of course, hasn't been fueled to the end yet, but he and Sean Saputra in the Nick Love team car, Saputra, of course, teammate of Love Racing, will be attentively noting the fact that his boss or teammates Challenger is running right behind him. Maybe we see some team orders here. Alex Albert getting a run into the bus stop. Will Saputra make it easy? Looks like he's not. Alex Albert's going to have to go around the outside, but he's got that nice run. He might have enough here to get clear, especially if Saputra breaks a little early, but he doesn't, and Saputra challenges him too wide. Oh, and narrowly closes the door there, but Alex Albert, discretion is a better part of valor. He squeezes the throttle on and straight lines the exit a little bit more, and he's taking the inside now into NASCAR 3. Definitely held up, but no foul play. And Nick Love might still benefit, though, because now Nicely is punching a too wide hole in the air ahead of him, and that will pull Nick Love right up into this fray. And Saputra is going to try and put himself around Alex Albert as well. And it's entirely possible that Nicely and Saputra don't realize that Albert is fueled to the end, or honestly, that Nick Love's fueled to the end.
Or do they care?
True. And Saputra's way wide. He's got to be out on the dirty stuff there. And you kind of see it as he spins up the tires on the exit. Now this is hurting Nick Love. I'm not seeing him being any nicer.
Hello, that's always going to miss the horseshoe. Oh, just keeps it on the pavement. But that is 1 step forward, 5 steps back on that one. Alex Albert skips away. Chris Nicely holds position.
Oof. There would have been... Gotta think there would have been some steward involvement there if the team car goes and slides, understeers into the chief competitor on the podium. Yikes. That was
Tommy
close.
Milner won class in the 2016 Daytona 24.
I think they started handing out class watches in 2011, I want to say.
See, here's the thing, is like, Daytona wasn't part of the... Daytona was part of Grand Am, not American Le Mans, and all the Corvette history is on the American Le Mans side. So I think his actual first Daytona, competitive Daytona 24, actually was 2014 or 15 after the merger. So he hasn't had as many. He's been around a while in sports car racing, but hasn't actually had a chance at as many Rolexes as I guess I initially thought.
Oh, I lied. 1992 was when they started giving out the class winning watches. It was the 70s and 80s where they didn't give out the class winning watches at the 24. It was
Stingy.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, you only won your class. Either way, Nick Love running around the outside. Yeah, our producers just chimed in with a good point there. They're diluting the market on Rolexes, giving them out all willy-nilly nowadays.
Lee Mullerman's on pit lane.
And Nick Love having to lift and brake there. Taking a very different line than Chris Nicely into the corner, but hasn't been able to make his way around, critically losing time to Alex Albert ahead of him. And, Nicely a long-time series regular. I think he knows what's at stake here for those two. But racing for the position by the looks of things.
You think he's just having a grand old time, causing a tiny bit of mischief?
Well, I'd have to bet it. Got Lee Muehlman, who's managed to sneak onto the pits and then back off again.
Race leader too. Mark McCormick's in for his final stop.
Mm-hmm. Haven't noted that new livery for him yet. That's
Extra
that's a
whammo.
new take. Yeah, very whammo. No fear. It looks like he's taken at least a couple tires here.
Yeah, I think I'd suggest that Alex Albert took only rear tires, and that might have been the source of some of his frustrations on pit exit. And that quick little stop for McCormick, I think, might have been the same too. Fuel and just the rear tires, 21 seconds of service. Still got to abide by the pit lane speed limit and shave a little more off that through that hairpin. It's 55 miles an hour on pit road. Still got to abide that all the way to these green cones. Then he can light it up. And
yeah,
does he find himself still in the race lead?
Yeah, still in the race lead. Yeah, things are going pretty good.
By a bit.
Yeah, 25 seconds by the looks of things only. But yeah, and our timing screen's gotten a little messed up by the fact that Alex Albert had a second stop there, of course, while he was facing the wrong way in the grass on the pit exit. But looking at that pit lane time, we can see that he lost
53 seconds for McCormick versus a minute 10 for Albert, so basically 20 seconds in it.
Yeah, so that's taken any hopes that Alex might have had, but they were pretty fleeting already. Really just elite racing talent on display here from McCormick, and we'll have to reminder to check in with him about he went and had his first real race, I think, since we last spoke to him. So we'll have to see that iRacing.
That's not hope that's not where the extra whammo came from.
Sign the car everywhere you hit it. Yikes! Chris Nicely coming off the pit lane. He's run it till he's out of fuel by the looks of things, and he's coming out. And it looks like he's filing back in around 11th place, but there's still about 4 more cars in the top 10 that need to pit. So maybe 7th place net?
It could be. Kowalczyk and Garrett Meyer are a long way up the road from him. So he might be still kind of trying to race against them, but he'll probably jump Saputra and Giebler, but he'll know now that the drivers immediately in front of him, Flamian and Jordan Butler and John Wilding, racing them. Immediately behind him, Kyle Robertson and Mark Kruger are fueled to the end as well. So he sort of slots back amongst the drivers that he knows he's fighting for position and points.
Mm-hmm. And Kruger comes on to the banking there. Looks like he's got a little bit of a battle on his hands, albeit with a lapped car. Brandon Marshall, nope, sorry, that is for position. Brandon Marshall running that America livery. And he decides to lift out of it and give Kruger a little space as they head into the bus stop. Still 30 minutes to go. No need to be too dangerous.
Land of the free and home of the brave. A man born on such a great occasion as July the 4th joins us. He offered, we didn't ask, Tom Ellison, series administrator, how are you finding today's racing in this car and the 2-hour race format?
I'll leave if you don't want me here, Haynes.
No, I do, because I want to, yeah.
No, I think the race so far has
It would
been
be
a triumph.
unsporting of me to say rude things about you when you're not here.
Perish the thought. The race so far has been excellent, from my opinion. Sitting up here in the race control booth, been keeping an eye on things. The field has been generally very well behaved. No massive incidents or controversy. I haven't needed to say any stern words to anybody. The 2-hour race, I think, is a challenge, but also this is the maximum stint length that is required in a real-life ChampCar race, because, you know, that's what the endurance race format demands, and so this is true to life. This is what drivers will have to contend with, and I think it's a good advertisement for the series.
And I think this has been a good choice of car for it as well, because obviously across the schedule, we've got 4 cars this season. If it was the Jetta or the Miata here, it might have been an unrelenting pack race with severe consequences and maybe a lot of crashes. But the Mustang requires enough wrangling, and I think it's got enough power that we still see some good packs, and you know, people are battling more than 90 minutes into this race for a lot of positions all up and down the field. But it hasn't been, you know, that, we're just waiting for the big one.
I agree. You know, throughout the series, throughout the schedule for the year, we try and tailor the choice of course to the choice of car. We are lucky that we have, you know, a few options available to us when deciding the schedule. And I think for a track like Daytona, particularly this Roval setup, which is such a large venue and such an iconic place in the American motorsport history, a V8 powered rear drive car is the appropriate vehicle for such a race here, because it does give you a little more space, a little more differentiation between drivers. And frankly, you know, we've seen some great driving throughout the field, but I'm really excited to see the fact that we do have still such a tight battle for places 3 through 9, essentially. That's only separated by about 20 seconds total. And it's really testament to the drivers in the field here that they're able to battle so hard for so long.
A couple more 2-hour races coming up in the schedule later on. We've got 2 hours of Watkins Glen, May 25. We've got the kind of traditional 2 hours of VIR full in July in homage to the VIR 24, and then also at Sebring.
That's correct. So for this season, I did want to include a few more rounds where we did have the full 2-hour race. I think that is important for ChampCar to represent the endurance roots of the series. And the choice of venue really for those races was driven by the attendance of the ChampCar field in real life. These are the premier events throughout the year. We see Daytona, Watkins Glen, VIR 24, and Sebring routinely putting fields of, you know, upwards of 80, 90, even 100 cars.
I think it's 130 on the entry list for Daytona this weekend. Is that right?
That's what I've seen, which I think is a record for the event, which is going to be, you know, entertaining, I think.
Squeeze them in like Florida oranges.
We've just seen Nicely have a moment there. Big contact by the looks of things. But keep going, boys.
Okay, a couple of new venues joining the schedule this year as well, Tom.
That's right. So, I mean, because we're running the series through iRacing, which is the, to my mind, premier and best all-round motorsports multiplayer simulator in the market, we are therefore hamstrung by the fact that only tracks that they have laser scanned to their exacting quantities are available on the service, which means that perhaps we lag a couple of years behind the trending schedule for real-world events. For example, there are no Ozarks Raceway, which ChampCar is going to do for the first time this year for the championship. There is no Thompson Roval. There is no Harris Hill, for example, the smaller tracks that make up a fair amount of the schedule. To ameliorate that somewhat for the iRacing series, we try and put in other North American tracks that perhaps actually ChampCar would not get the opportunity to run at, but which would be attractive to the membership because they do represent iconic venues in the North American motorsport scene. For example, this season in the ChampCar iRacing series, we have rounds at Summit Point, at Lime Rock, at Montreal, the street circuit in Canada where the F1 race is held, and also at what's the other one that we're not doing? Sonoma, which was on the iRacing on the ChampCar schedule for this year, but the event has been cancelled due to low membership. But we're still happy to bring that round to the iRacing series, and I'm sure we're going to have good attendance.
Anything you need to plug while you're here?
I would like to plug the ChampCar series in general. I would like to thank Dana Morrison and the board of directors for their continued support for the iRacing series. I think that our growth this year has been superb. We're bringing in now big fields, 30-plus races each round, and thanks to their support, I continue to grow. And I'd also like to thank yourself and Devon and Michael Derby and the production suite for your continued supports at broadcasting these events. I think they really add an extra dimension to this series, and we are truly thankful for your support and your work.
Sure feels more like a booth than a suite at times, but we'll keep plugging away at it.
You get what you pay for here, Haynes.
True. Yeah, you get David Haynes.
But no, thank you for all your work as ever, and we look forward to bringing you some more excitement throughout the year, and some, hopefully close battles throughout the field. Looks like we have a competitive group of drivers this year. Looking forward to
a couple of new drivers and teams on the grid just for today as well, who are running pretty pointy. Yeah,
for sure. We've seen some the Level 412 team, who are, I believe, a Florida-based Miata team in real life, have brought a couple of new drivers to the series, and they've slotted right into the top 10 here and are, competing well. And that's what we really want to see. We want to see crossover from the real-world series to the iRacing series, and then by that nature, by fomenting that community, to see crossover in the opposite direction, to bring new drivers from the virtual world into the real world, which is what we try to do with the prizes on offer throughout the year, and then really to sort of try and foment this crossover between the two arenas, because I think there is synergies to be found in both.
Finally got the vocabulary word of the race from Ellison this time. Foment. Nice.
I've been practicing. Thank you for your support.
Alex Albert makes an easy move on Garrett Meyer there for third place. So Meyer still hasn't hit pit lane yet for the final stop.
Thank you, Tom. We'll catch you around.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your support.
Well, where are people going to see you at the real track this year?
This year, I will be at Watkins Glen this year, driving for Visceral Racing Group. So if anyone's at the Glen, please come by and stop to say hi. Other than that, we'll be with Hugh Jazz at Carolina Motorsports Park and Atlanta Motorsports Park later in the year. Probably on a couple of events as well, but that's TBD.
Cool. If you want to find Tom, just yell tea and crumpets really loudly in the paddock.
I'll be there. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your work, and look forward to the end of this race.
There we go, Devon. Good little chat. The racing has carried on. There's been a couple more pit stops as well while we were chatting away. There's just 20 minutes left in this race now.
Yeah, interesting to see that none of those four that we had noted in the top 10 have decided to come down the pit lane just yet, though we have seen a little bit of movement from them. Of course, Alex Albert driving through Garrett Meyer there, or past Garrett Meyer, and then Nick Love also making up some ground, though a little bit more slowly. I think his slightly older tires are maybe coming into play here.
Devon, you know what I spy is a little bit of light on the horizon as well.
Yeah, that pink sky just starting to tickle the edges of the cameras there. Looks like in simulator we're coming up on 648, 650. So you got to think that sun's going to be poking up pretty soon here.
Hello, doggy. Yeah, it is going to get a bit brighter and a bit warmer just for the finish of this race, which is almost a shame because I think this is one of the tracks where if you finish under darkness, they set off fireworks. Sebring is definitely one of those, so maybe I'll have to request that for the end of the season we get some fireworks. That, of course, is going to be round 16, Sebring, November 9th. Championship race, also 2 hours also in this car, so we can look forward to that in November if we're enjoying today's racing. And of course, if you want to join, if you want to see the schedule, forum.champcar.org, the ChampCar iRacing series section is right up the top, so I don't think you can miss it, and it's got all the information you need to come racing with us if that's what you want to do.
And I
just
think
some general handy iRacing tips as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to get to know the guys in the community, and to speak to what Tom was just saying there. I'm already seeing people, making plans to meet up in the paddocks at various races as we go around in the series. I even saw some guys trying to make some plans to see each other in Daytona. So, real racing, real friends, virtual platform. You gotta love it, right?
That's our own story as well, isn't it?
There you go. Bunch of internet nerds buy a race car and take it to VIR, run it in the rain.
What could go wrong?
It seems like nothing could go wrong for Mark McCormick, now clear of the field by 27 seconds, putting on a real dominant performance. And
35 seconds to Alex Albert, who's his next real competitor, because Kowalczyk is yet to take his second stop as well.
True. So yeah, another dominant performance, and again, I mentioned this a few times over the last few months of broadcasting, but Mark McCormick, just going by the numbers, at 5,608 iRating is really a 1%er on iRacing. There's very few people that manage to get into that kind of stratosphere of iRacing. I think the top 5% cuts off around 3,000 iRating. So Mr. McCormick showing up at 5,600 is a real outlier. Really impressive.
Zihao has 5,000-ish as well, so I really hope we get him back for the next round. We talked some hours ago now about, he's missing out on this race, unfortunately, and he wanted to be here, he wanted to make it, he wanted to compete. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not really hamstringing his championship hopes. He's been at all of the first races so far, bagged some points there, and you do get those 4 drop rounds. So of the 16 championship races we have across the year, from February to November, it's a big old calendar, your best 12 count to your championship. So he's definitely, with a win in the bag, a chance to be able to challenge Mark McCormick if he can come back and take some more wins.
Yeah, and that's just recognizing that these guys are real racers too, so want to make sure that everyone gets the chance to come in and put in their best, even if they've got to turn around a car, in a week or two to get it back out to the next race.
John Hurley's skipping out on us because he's loading his trailer tonight.
Yeah, I was hearing that. But yeah, it as much as that, Zihao still has the opportunity, it is significant. This will be another win in the pocket for Mark McCormick, and if assuming things go to plan, and if that's the case, that'll be 3 for him and only 1 for Zihao. And the number of wins is a really determining factor at the front end of this championship. You got to think, and McCormick having a bit of a struggle here trying to get around Jerry Bavinek. Not sure Bavinek realized that blue flag was for him, maybe. But able to clear it. Yeah.
Nah, Bavinek's just a fan of some close racing and wanted to make sure that the last 15 minutes was good. You
know what? It's got to be sponsor time, right? You put the car right in front of the leader and near the end of the race, and make sure that they get the camera on you. It's good thinking. Marketing.
So, Devin, I can now only see one driver left who hasn't made their final pit stop, and it is that man, Jerry Bavinek. So say what you will, he's been very economical so far, and that's because Garrett Meyer from up in third place has come onto the lane for his final stop.
Mm-hmm.
Taking his splash of fuel, and he could still be a challenger for the top 10 here.
Yeah, I see him revving up the car and getting ready to roll. And it will be a little interesting. I mean, I didn't see tires go on, but it is a bit of an advantage to be able to sit and cool these tires in this car too. So, assuming he keeps it off the wall, a little bit close, it always is. It'll be interesting to see where he filters out.
It'll be door-to-door with Chris Flamion, I think. Flamion on the racetrack, a little more speed, not close enough to get down the inside of the horseshoe. So they are right back into the battle, 7th and 8th.
Mm-hmm. They separated that battle for a little bit, and then they're right back together. Also noticed Jordan Wilding in that yellow car and Jordan Butler were battling for a good little while there while we were under yellow. But then we've seemingly lost Wilding somewhere along the way. Sorry, John Wilding, not Jordan Butler, John Wilding. But anyway, Jordan Butler has I think spun away, and Charles Kowalczyk's now put himself in between them. So just to recap the top, we got Mark McCormick in the lead, Alex Albert second, Garrett Meyer third, Nick Love fourth, Garrett Meyer not third. Garrett Meyer is going to be dropping down once these the timing screen shakes out. Yeah, John Wilding in fourth place, Charles Kowalczyk in fifth, Jordan Butler in sixth, Garrett Meyer in seventh, Chris Flamy in eighth, Kyle Roberts in ninth, Chris Nicely 10th. And we've got real tight battles for the back half of that top 10, so we'll be following those certainly in the last 15 minutes here.
A bit of a dog's breakfast of a line on the way into the bus stop for Garrett Meyer, but it's kind of the exit that seems to matter, and he managed to square that off and open the V8 tap a little. So they're battling there. Just a couple seconds back from them, Kyle Robertson and Chris Nicely battling. Ian Giebler and Justin Hall having a battle 13th and 14th. And hey, Ty Stover and David Warden 24th and 25th as well. Flamion has a bit of a run here in this battle for 7th though, and chooses not to go for it. That surprised me.
There's 12 minutes left, but it's almost argy-bargy time. Chris is really on his best behavior today.
He should go on holiday more often.
And gets himself all chilled out. Now, I'm starting to notice, I've been kind of checking in on what the different lead cars are doing at different points in the track, and Nick Love is lifting and coasting about everywhere that you can lift and coast right now. And I'm wondering how tight that car is on fuel, because the other thing is he's following Andrew Kosick and hasn't made an effort to get around him just yet, though he seems to be bump drafting as much as he's fuel saving.
So
hard
the
to tell.
longest middle stint I can see that anyone did, the longest anyone ran to a single tank was 27 laps, and that was Jerry Barvanek. And Andrew Kosick did it too. Love last stopped 19 laps ago, and I've got a predicted 6.5 to go, so it's probably 6 more for Love when he gets to the line. He's about as close as he's kind of get about as close as they go.
Yeah, he's going to be working for the far end of this one. But again, right up on the bumper of Andrew Kosick, lifting. You know, it's a little tap and then a lift, you know, sort of modulating the throttle. And that big lift into turn one. And the other change I was going to note from him is, sounds like he's a gear up in a few places, running third gear, fourth gear on the exit to the oval, and yeah, certainly taking it easy. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that one goes.
I mean, he can afford to do that. He's got 10 minutes left. 11 seconds in his pocket, so if he loses, you know, a second and a half a lap from now to the end, coasting it around a little bit, he'll still hold on to his position.
Yeah, and I don't even think he's losing that much, but I mean, John Wilding, if he
203s.
Yeah, if John Wilding gets a whiff of the fact that Love is low on fuel, or if Love sputters in 3 and 4, NASCAR 3 and 4, could still be a factor. Wilding certainly doing well for himself, though. He's found a bit of pace here near the end, running a 2:03.7 last time by, almost 10th for 10th with Nick Love ahead, and he doesn't have a draft, Wilding. And then another two big battles on track are Garrett Meyer and Kyle Robertson. So the DTM guys really putting on a show for us today. And it'll actually be a little bit interesting here. I'm kind of interested in this battle between Robertson and Nicely, not only because Nicely seems to be itching to make the pass, but also because they're both coming up on a team car. Andre Jameson, another one of those DTM drivers. Haven't seen much of him. He's currently a lap down, running in, looks like 22nd place. But when the team car comes through, I got to wonder if he's going to try and throw a monkey wrench in to the plans for Nicely behind. Let's see. And the haze of the morning peeking over.
And Robertson and Nicely have also been running faster than Meyer and Flamian over the last lap by almost a second on that one too. So seriously, it could get quite interesting right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Robertson's going to have the run into one, but I don't think Nicely's going to. But Bavinnik might throw a monkey wrench into all of this in that blue car. It looks very unstable. Ooh, and Robertson slides it. Ooh, and Nicely has to take evasive maneuvers as he kind of gets pinched by Jameson there. I don't know. I don't know if you call that intentional, but that was certainly unfortunate for Nicely behind.
I will say I had to avoid Bavinnik, but it went a little less than sporting.
Yeah. I don't think. I think that'll get called a racing incident and move on. But we'll see. Does Robertson have the pace to go get caught up to Flamian and Meyer ahead? Last time by, he was faster again. At least faster than Meyer was. And those two aren't even really racing yet. Justin Hall's continuing his recovery drive down in 14th place currently, but he's got his eyes set forward on Ian Giebler ahead. Giebler's had his own little drama, started 11th down to 13th, so not way away from where he sort of was running. But he will be acutely aware of the fact that Justin Hall qualified just a little bit ahead of him, about 0.2 faster in qualifying as they come down with 4 laps to go between these two. So that'll be a battle we'll be watching to the line.
We will be spoiled of places to look on the final lap, I think.
And Kruger and Saputra. As I say, Kruger and Saputra just drove through a wall of smoke into the bus stop there too. Looks like everyone escaped unscathed, but that's another battle kind of looking pretty tight here as we get down to the wire. And that's the battle for 10th and 11th place. Kruger seems happy to ride in the draft right now there.
Or does he? Shaping up to look down the inside on the brakes into turn number 1.
Oh.
The brake's pretty deep. Sean Butcher gets out quite wide, and there's not a whole lot of grip out there, but I don't think Kruger's game to be too aggressive.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Kruger did the thing, he poked his nose out and made Sean Butcher make a mistake, but then he didn't really capitalize on it. And I don't know if that was, just a difference in line and pace through that corner, or if Kruger just prefers to be in second with 3 laps to go here. It can be the right decision, especially in cars that are as big and drafty as these ones. Oof. Pretty much everyone on the lead lap still has a battle here. That's kind of what we're getting at.
Yeah, I even see Kowalczyk catching wilding towards the end here as well.
Mm-hmm. And he's got a little bit of help from Jonathan Patterson, the lapper here. Trying to get out of the way, Patterson, I got to imagine, but Kowalczyk's going, stay on the bottom. I need the draft. But yeah, last time by, Kowalczyk was about 9 tenths faster and averaging 6 or 7 tenths faster than Wilding ahead.
I'm looking forward to more of these 2-hour races later on in the season. I'm glad it's not all 2-hour races, and I'm sure there's many drivers whose Wednesday nights are glad it's not all 2-hour races, but the next one's coming up, Watkins Glen, in May. I think that'll be good, and that's in the NC Mazda Miata, so the third generation, the boat. Same car for VIR full, but then back in the Mustangs for Sebring in November.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching this battle between Robertson and Nicely starting to heat up a little bit. That's the battle for 9th and 10th place. They were nearly side by side going through turn number 1 before Nicely dived back into line, and now Nicely kind of riding behind Robertson. Robertson definitely the more aggressive on entry, but Nicely seemed to be preferring that more exit optimized line, at least through the infield. Things are getting tight, though, between them. Ooh, and a little slip up there from Robertson. Oh, but from Nicely, too. Nicely will definitely have the draft, though, if he wants this one. 2 to go. Speaking.
Yeah, it was definitely 2 laps to go for your leader. Everyone else, as they get to the line, popsicle sticks. Side by side here, then towards the bus stop. That is nose in front for Knisley, but the inside line for Robertson, and Knisley rolls out of it because he knows nothing good is going to come from that. Trying to set up and square off an exit off the bus stop. Still
that was
advantage Robertson.
Yeah, I was going to say that was an excellent line from Robertson there. There's a little trench that gets dug by the right side tires on these cars, just in front of the first or the last exit curb on the right, and he was right in there. Nicely getting the run though. And a big run through the tri-oval. I think he's got 7 miles an hour on him right now.
Then as they come towards the banking in the tri-oval, it fades out a little bit and he's not able to go clean around the outside like he might have hoped. It is 2 to go for these competitors, still on the lead lap after almost 2 hours.
The battle we were hoping for between Flamion and Meyer has fizzled out a little bit. But the battle behind between Saputra and Kruger is still plenty tight. Nothing's gone wrong at the front so far. Mark McCormick still 30 seconds ahead of Alex Albert, who's another 20 seconds ahead of Nick Love.
Just don't say it with that slightly hopeful tone in your voice, Devin.
I'm always looking for a lead change. Makes exciting things exciting.
So that is white flag for your leader, Mark McCormick. One more lap of the speedway for him. Started on the front row. A handful of drivers, including Alex Albert, picked up a slowdown penalty through the bus stop. Mark McCormick led by the end of lap number 1, and it's basically been every lap since then.
Yeah, dominant performance from him out here. But we've come to expect no less from the Whammo car. Back in with Robertson. Got nicely lining him up again. It'll be white flag for them when they get around the bus stop and then through NASCAR 3 and 4. Nicely starting to run out of time here.
Yeah, I think so. They've still got this and one more lap. Very aggressive line across the grass in places for Robertson, and it is that sort of 3rd and 4th apex where you've got to be more careful about getting the slowdown penalty, about getting the black flag. He cut quite a bit at the 2nd apex as he did. I still don't think that's advised in the long term, and there's not a car length to fit between them in the battle for 9th and 10th.
Nicely gave up the run though that time, and I'm thinking that we're going to see these two go right to the line.
be. In towards turn number 1 for them. Knisley's not as close as he was the last time, but it's almost a victory lap and a celebration lap for Mark McCormick. He's out of the last real corner of the lap at the bus stop, and now he's just got to keep the throttle pinned on the Daytona banking all the way to checkered flag, and another win in 2022 for his ChampCar iRacing Series campaign. The number 1 car, the defending champ, is going to win the first 2-hour race at Daytona.
Oh, and it's great stuff. Just really impressive performance from him, and yeah, he'll be doing some donuts on the infield. Back in with Kyle Robertson, Chris Flamion, Robertson and Nicely, and Nicely's peaking on the outside. Robertson's kind of giving him the run. And this is that battle for 9th and 10th place, and Nicely goes ahead. So Robertson's decided he wants to be the one with the draft to the end. We're seeing weaving on the banking. You don't get to see that very often.
And you know what? Up the road from them, Garrett Meyer's also under pressure from Flammy, and super defensive from Meyer. Is he running low on fuel or something here? Huge closing speeds from Meyer. Oh, and Meyer shortcuts the chicane big time. That's got to be a slowdown. Surely Flamian gets this position.
Gotta think. Meyer's still defending it, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold it off. And back in with Nicely, still ahead, but Robertson's in the draft.
It's all about the gamesmanship in both of these battles. When do you pull out of the draft? Can you carry enough speed up high to the line to try to take a position away? Flamian versus Meyer. Meyer looking around the outside, but it's the short run for Flamian. Photo finish, but Flamian will hold on to that one.
And Nicely and Robertson looking the same way. Nicely tried to get the move around the outside, but didn't quite have enough side draft to pull it off. Robertson wisely pulling away to prevent Nicely from getting that side draft at the end. And
there's a wrecker's yard in the runoff from turn number 1 too.
Cars cartwheeling, all that stuff. Love to see it. Mark Kruger comes across the line. 12th position for him. Sean Saputra holding him off at the end. And we see Justin Hall coming to the line with Lee Muehlman just behind. 15th place, final car on the lead lap. And a great showing from all our competitors here today.
Yeah, really loved the racing. The drivers knew that the slipstream and the draft didn't mean it was a license to dive bomb every single corner. They gave respectful racing room, and there is going to be a lot of smoke on the outside of turn number 1 at the end of this one. So we saw lots of pack racing, but it didn't lead to silly stuff. It didn't lead to big wrecks, and drivers let the strategy and the race pace sort of settle it, which I loved to see. Really, really bodes well with a field this size and that style of racing.
Mm-hmm. Well done. Yeah, and if it continues like this, same car combo, but over at Sebring at the end of the race, I got to imagine that we'll have an exciting one on our hands.
So after 2 hours of Daytona International Speedway for round 4 of the ChampCar iRacing Series in 2022, let's take a look at our results table. Your winner, Mark McCormick from Alex Albert in second place, recovering from that spin on pit exit to still get second, but that put paid to a lot of his chances of challenging for the win. Nick Love with a pit stop brought on a little earlier, maybe nursing some of that fuel to the end, still gets on the podium from John Wilding, Charles Kowalczyk, Jordan Butler, Chris Flamian, just staging out Garrett Meyer on that final lap. Then Kyle Robertson and Chris Nicely having a battle to round out the top 10. Whereas 11th for Sean Saputra, then Mark Kruger, Ian Giebler, Justin Hall, Lee Morleman, Brandon Marshall, Patrick Persley, Andrew Cosick, Corey Barrett, and Jonathan Patterson. And I think Barrett was your biggest mover in that race, Devon.
Absolutely. He's the hard charger of the race. Well done from him. Started deep in the field, but a consistent, clean race, and it's paid dividends.
So then in 21st was Tim Wire, and then Andre Jamison, Ty Stover, all the one lap down. You've got David Warden, Aaron Thorpe, Jared Cubitt, Jerry Barvanek, Bill Ferrari, and Michael Thorne, I think, all seeing the checkered flag. For Scott Grinnell, I think he's just scraped the right side of the halfway race distance with 30 laps to the leader's 58. But it's a DNF for Ryan Gersma, Raymond Muratore, and Jay Safianek didn't qualify and I think didn't take the start.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I know that Gersmer's running those 3D goggles and getting accustomed to them, so I'm willing to bet that that was a factor in his early retirement.
Well, it's a little bit of feeling post-race from Chris Knisley, but we've got to get a little bit of feeling from our podium. How many of them are standing by? Muffin Cormack not want to talk to us? Surely we can wrangle a hold of him, but third place for Nick Love and a good showing and good turnout from your guys in Love Racing as well today.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting race, and yeah, we're glad everyone can kind of come out and compete, and I think everyone did fairly well, so pretty happy with that.
Thoughts on the 2-hour, 2-stop race from the Ford Mustang? A new sort of format for us, I guess, in the ChampCar iRacing series, but it definitely looked like there was plenty of racing out there.
Yeah, I liked it. It added a lot more strategy because you got to think about maybe take less fuel that first stop and then come out in no traffic, or you take all the fuel like I did and you come out in the traffic. So yeah, it's a lot more to think about.
Is the strategy you ended up executing the one you had in your mind before the start of the race?
So everything looked good until my first pit stop. When I came out, I ended up crashing into the pit wall and taking some alignment damage on the front right. And I was losing about 2 seconds a lap on the oval section. And so I ended up going maybe 3 laps and just pitting again to fix it and taking a tiny bit more fuel, but it said I wouldn't make it to the end. So I just ended up having to fuel save a lot and couldn't really compete with Alex there at the end, but I was happy with where I was.
Well, a podium in a 30-plus car field, and you hold off a couple of newcomers and a couple of established names.
Yeah, there's a lot of fast guys out there, that's for sure.
Where are people going to see Love Racing this year?
We were hoping to make it to the national championship race, but it looks like that's probably not going to happen. Maybe CMP or the September Harris Hill race. I'm not sure yet, but we're still figuring things out right now.
I'll tell you, selfishly, you should try to make it to CMP.
Yeah, it's a fun track.
And I think that's where we're expecting to see an Australian invasion this year.
Ooh, that's exciting. Might have to make it out there.
Well, wherever your racing takes you, good luck. Congratulations today, and hopefully we'll see you again for round 5 at Lime Rock, 20th of April.
Yep, for sure. We'll be there.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Devin, how about you go wrangle our second place man?
He's making himself difficult to grab out of that other room there, but congratulations, Alex Albert, on second place. Well earned out there for you today.
Thanks, Devin.
That was hard work by the looks of things, but you were able to make quite a gap, and I think that was pretty important for you, right?
Yeah, it was good to be talking to you guys after a race again. We've had a little bit of a hiatus here on our bi-weekly chats, but yeah, it was definitely good to have a good run. Tonight's, if I had to boil it down to one thing, I would say it's just unforced errors. Made that mistake on lap 1 and got that slow down, and that was huge. And then from there, it was playing catch up, made a few more mistakes, got a few more slowdowns. Probably the biggest mistake of the night was after they dropped the jack there during the second stop, did a huge burnout and just got the rears way too hot. When I came to that bend in the pit out, looped around on me and felt like my buddy Chip at Watkins Glen when he spun in the pit out. But I was able to get it going again and come out in front of Nick, and then we raced for a little while, and he got caught up in traffic, and I was able to get away. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. The 2 stops made it pretty exciting for me from where I sat. Kept me guessing, so I hope it kept you guys in.
That was great on our end. We really enjoyed it, and I gotta say we weren't sure exactly where everyone stood the whole way through. So glad to hear that the new format was exciting for you, because it was definitely exciting for us.
Yeah, I tried to mix it up and take tires both times. I think it worked. If I wouldn't have spun coming out, it was going to be a pretty good strategy. I felt like Nick was maybe hanging on my coattails there at the end of the first stint. And so as soon as the tires were done, just went ahead and left the box with a little less than full fuel, try to get that gap. And we were able to build it up some. I know he had a little bit of trouble in that second stint. But yeah, it was fun. It was a heck of a workout, and it was a lot of good mental hand-eye coordination type preparation for this weekend.
Absolutely. And you're going to be racing out there this weekend, right?
Yep, be down in Daytona, leaving tomorrow. Be there at the track this weekend with Danger Racing, my buddy John Hurley, and some of his usual cast of drivers. So we're looking to have a good run. Car tested well in testing, and so should be fun. Just got a picture while we were racing of it all loaded up. So really looking forward to getting down there. And we're also going to meet up with some of the other iRacing guys while we're there. Mark Kruger and Z Howe and some different people are going to be at the race. So we're all going to try to meet up on Friday afternoon. So if anyone, any iRacers or anyone wants to meet up Friday, hit us up through the Discord, and yeah, we'll see you there.
Nice. Well, great result. Moves up to second in the points with that. And, it's good to have a chat with you again. Anyone you need to shout out to thank for tonight?
I guess I'm going to give a shout out to Chris Nicely. He was probably my biggest teammate in this race. Nick got stuck with him. They were all battling there for position when we were driving back through up to the second stop. So Chris is probably my MVP of the race. And also shout out to John Hurley. He's going to let me drive his car, and we're going to go real fast at Daytona. So
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much, and have a great evening.
thanks again, guys.
We wouldn't normally do this, but we haven't got our race winner, so why not? Let's grab Garrett Meyer. He was in a pretty good finish at the end. G'day, Garrett. Well, end of your race, your final lap was definitely very exciting. Talk us through that last lap.
Definitely an exciting one for sure. I mean, the whole race battling with Chris was great. Just want to say thank you first to you guys for putting this on. This was excellent. This is my first time in the Mustang, so great experience, no doubt. I took the risk, no tires, and it didn't really pay off coming into the bus stop on the last lap, I'll tell you that. I was a little worried looking in the rear view and kind of blew my braking zone. Somehow didn't get the black flag, but man, I thought I had Chris come to the line, but he got me.
Yeah, 9,000ths of a second. You let Chris Flamian beat you, so we're not going to let you forget about that one. But certainly, I mean, 2 hours of racing, starting in the day, racing through the night, and then back into the day. Does it feel like you stepped through a bit of a time warp?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, right as soon as the sun came up, it's just like real life. You get a little weary, you get a little worried, you start thinking too much. Still just an absolute blast. Can't thank you guys enough for putting on the race, and everyone in the race was super nice. No complaints on my end. It was awesome.
And Garrett, I'm sure you've read the forum. You've joined us at round number 4. You've still got enough left in the season to tick off 12 and get your name in that draw for a $1,500 ChampCar credit. Is that the aim?
Oh, I mean, that would just be an added bonus. The aim is just to have fun and meet some more of the fellow champ racers. So if I could pull that off, that would be awesome. Our team, Drive Trainer Motorsports, We love to do these races, love to get into leagues, and this seems like a great league to be a part of. So I'm sure you could see us in the future.
We saw plenty of you across 2 hours today, and I won't be too disappointed if we see more of you guys in the future. Pass on our congratulations and our thanks to your teammates as well, and hopefully see a couple of you around some of the later races, maybe the Mustang ones especially.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt you'll see us again. Just again, massive thanks to everyone who raced, to everyone who puts us on. You'll definitely see us back. We had an amazing time. Thank you.
Well, that's going to wrap up everything from here at Daytona International Speedway in round 4 of the ChampCar iRacing series. Mark McCormick extends his championship lead. Alex Albert and Nick Love complete the podium. And there were battles throughout. 2-stop strategy definitely whets the appetite for the future 2-hour races coming up in the championship. Make sure you head to forum.champcar.org for all the information of upcoming rounds, where to find us, where to join us, and also to join the community of racers, because there is a lot of racing, but there's also a lot of friendship, as we've heard from everyone we spoke to after this race. Thanks for joining us here on HJBC for our coverage, where we will be bringing you live coverage of every round of the season. So make sure you subscribe and follow us here for all of that coverage coming up. I've been David Haynes, Devin Peters with me, and we couldn't do it without Michael Derby in the production truck. See you April 20th as we blaze it around Lime Rock Park.